Hello and welcome to another random request reaction stream where we check out videos, YouTube videos that I don't get to... I can't speak. That I don't get to check out on my Sunday stream, right? Where we check out mostly like songs. Today the point is to check out, videos that say memes, history, science, news, and anything you can think of. I mean, if I'm interested, I'll watch it. And obviously, like, the structure is a bit different for this one. On my, Sunday stream, people share one video and I watch it. But on this one, you can share as many videos as you want, and I will pick what I watch. So I might skip your video if I'm not interested. But you can always share another one. I think that's kind of the gist of this one. So it's a bit different. But yeah, as always, if you're watching the VOD, there will be links and timestamps in the description, links to all the videos. Check them out. Link to my Discord if you want to follow me, my stream amount, Patreon if you want to support me, request reaction. Then I'm really realizing I'm struggling to speak today. It's one of those days. I need to wake up a bit. I just opened my monster before this and sorry. And I guess this thing must have been shaken days ago when I bought it. And so I put it like on the lampside table that I've got right here, where I've got my phone next to it, right? And I'm watching like a Colonne Minecraft stream, and then suddenly I look this side, and the thing is just overflowing, and it's like dripping onto my like I've got a light at my feet. It's dripping onto it, and under like the box that I have to have the camera on. What a mess! What a mess! But since I have my headphone, obviously I wasn't hearing it. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, we've got some videos people shared already. This one, this one, this one, this one. This one I opened myself because I'm interested. This one, this one, this one, and this one. So yeah, again, as always, I won't guarantee that I'll watch everything. So again, you can share more than one video if you want. The more you share, the more likely I am to watch one of them, because again, it depends on what I'm feeling that day, I guess. But yeah, we're not gonna do like a ultra long stream today. Maybe like 2 hours or something. We are getting closer to 1,000 subs, and I think when I reach that, I'll do like a special Sunday stream and a special random stream to celebrate, which will basically just be longer one. But not yet. I think we'll be there in a couple of weeks, maybe. Yeah, we'll have to see. But yeah, don't know if there's too much more to say, so let's get into videos. The first one is this one. I think Azriel shared it. The rise of Blokees plus all toy line explained. Blokees deep dive. Never heard of it. So let's learn about it.
We've all seen some companies blow up almost overnight in our lifetimes, and Blokees is no exception. We're going to be talking about the different lines Blokees has, and talk about scale, who they're for, and how fun they are to put together. There really isn't any exact video that discusses the different editions and lines, so I will do my level best to explain all 16 product lines they have available at the time of this video. Before we get to the good stuff, we're going to try to piece together the Blokees story as much as possible. In 2014, Shanghai Bruco Technology was founded and initially focused on making children's block toys, educational toy blocks that's similar to Lego's Duplo or Mega Bloks' lines for toddlers and kids. Between 2014 and 2023 is where things get fuzzy, because a lot of information isn't available about this 6-year period, and the information we got directly from them says they started offering brick-based toys in 2017 and move on to model kits and everything we know now in 2021. So at some point in this timeline, they rebranded themselves to Blokees and kicked things off with the first IP they acquired, which is of course Transformers, the Blokees Galaxy version 01 rollout blind boxes, which fans loved from the get-go. From there, they've expanded pretty quickly into Southeast Asia.
We had watched some video before about like Transformer toys, and I wonder, like, is it really easy to acquire the license for it? It seems like there's so many companies making versions of Transformers.
North and South America and the rest of the world showing up at different conventions and fairs in Singapore, New York, Jakarta, Germany, and Mexico. Blokees has definitely shaked up the market, because now instead of saving up for the $200-ish Lego Soundwave and feeling miserable as you wait, you go out there and you buy the Blokees G1 Action Edition or the classic class Transformers 1 of Soundwave for half the price.
but do they look as good? That's always the thing. Yeah.
Most, if not all, of Blokees kits have a great amount of articulation, details, and sometimes gimmicks in all the different lines. But what makes them stand out amongst other industry giants in the plastic model/toy market is their price point. If you are unfamiliar with their toy prices, let me give you a quick example. The real grade EVA 01 unit would cost
That's a really cool looking one though.
me SGD $69.90, while the Action Edition EVA 01, this dude right here, would cost me $37.90. Though the RG is
But it doesn't look as good. Hello, Azriel. Disneyland. Oh, I see. I see. Enjoy Disneyland and hopefully the typhoon will come down.
definitely the better model kit with more gimmicks. It's more posable and comes with a cool 80 field effect pod. It still costs almost
field is
twice as
cool.
much as the Blokees kit. Besides the IPs they've acquired, they have their own called Hero Spire and Magic Blocks. Hero Spire uses classic historical and mythical
You bought some? They look really good in person. Okay.
Chinese heroes like Sun Wukong, Neza, and Zhuge Liang, to name a few. As for Magic Blocks, they're kind of cute little robots. I'm not too sure, but they do have their own equivalent of a Paragon Warsuit or Grey Knight Baby Carrier. If you know, you know. All in all, Blokees are very affordable. They have about 32 IPs and growing under the
Ultraman, Pokémon, Evangelion, Detective Conan, Senseiya, Naruto, Star Wars. Okay. I guess it's big.
belt at the time of recording, and I
Plastic separated
think
colors.
we have reinvigorated fandoms and created new waves of fans to collect and build their favorite characters for many, if not all, the IPs they're making stuff for. Evangelion fans like myself can get our hands on Blokees EVA kits pretty easily.
Okay, those look
Other ones
pretty
are
good.
pretty hard to find in most parts of the world. Star Wars fans can army build stormtroopers, kids that love Minions and Sesame Street get their fill, not forgetting Hatsune Miku. Yeah, everyone goes home happy. Not to mention the community they've built through the BFC community that holds contests with various themes and it's open to everyone everywhere to participate. So yeah, this is pretty much the entire rundown for Blokees' story so far.
I mean, it's definitely a good thing. Right away, we had seen quite a few videos about like how bullshit the Transformers price used to be, and I've been for years. So I guess a new company coming in and, you know, making everything cheaper will maybe make the other company try to do better, right? It seems like a good thing. Obviously, like the first thing in my head is like the classic meme of made in China. So I'm like, is it actually quality compared to the other like popular brand of the figurines and the toys? But I think I just have like, you know, it was a meme for such a long time. I think these days it's not really true anymore, right? I mean, yeah, like recently, you know, I bought like an Xbox 360, well, an Xbox like controller receiver for my PC, so I could actually play wireless. And when I went to Amazon, there was a choice between like an official one and like some Chinese one, and the Chinese one was like 10 to 15 bucks less. I took it, and it's been working great. I mean, yeah, I think it was just a meme like 20 years ago. Like, you look at your toy, it says made in China, and it does look like truncated, but China is like one of those countries that's like, you know, they have like a time 10 speed of advancement to their country. So I think by now, made in China is basically pretty good.
And with some of the prototypes they've shown for like a lot of things, the future seems pretty damn bright. Blokees are really fun to build. They require no equipment whatsoever, but what would elevate that experience is a Secret Lab chair. At Geek Culture, Secret Lab is our everyday ergonomic buddy. Whether we're making videos, writing up a storm, or gaming for hours on end, we are comfortably seated and feel right at home without the aches and pains.
Also, sort of
Secret Lab
fits.
provides ergonomic support from head to toe, with a dynamic lumbar support system that adapts to your movements, along with a proprietary medium foam cushioning that optimizes pressure distribution.
I've never had a gaming chair. I've always literally been sitting on a bed like this, back to the wall. One day I will pay the price. I mean, my neck is already fucked. One day I'll get a gaming chair and just punch myself for being stupid of this setup for so many years.
Even have accessories like the ergonomic recliner add-on to keep your legs elevated and well rested at any angle you like. For more information, check out secretlab.co. Now let's get into the different lines of Blokees available to us so far. Hi, this is in post-shoot. I need to stress that we may or may not have been able to catch every release at the time of recording for each of the IPs and lines, mostly because their websites aren't up to date and I had to find out certain things mostly by chance. We'll get into this part later on. Again, my apologies for missing out anything. There's a lot to get into skim through, so here we go. First up is the Pre-Cool line that has Minions and Sesame Street in their boxes. These are great to get your kids involved and start them young into healthy hobbying, of course.
So really, despite the name, they're just like normal figures and toys, right? I mean, I thought they would be kind of by calling them Blokees, they would be a Minecraft style type of assembly, but I guess not. Or Lego, I guess.
The Pre-Cool line also involves Marvel and Ultraman. We have the More Cool range, which as far as I know only has Minions. It's a blind box range and the boxes look pretty big. There are 7 designs, so standard 6 in a box with a chance of one of them being the Secret or Chase figure. It is the usual when it comes to blind boxes. The TerraVenture line is for Jurassic World. 12 blind boxes, and there are quite a few figures you can get with some museum-esque pieces and vehicles. My complaint is that the Chinook is, well, not to scale at all. I know it's a line mostly for kids, but come on. Now the Warrior version for Hero Spire. This is Blokees IP in blind box form with classic and mythical Chinese heroes. There are 8 editions so far. God damn, that is super comprehensive. And they more or less look like they build and function like the Galaxy version line. The Armor version is also exclusive to the Hero Spire series and takes a bit more to build. I understand that the Warrior and Armor versions are basically the Defender and Classic line-ish versions, and that these are just localizations or ways to keep their own IP separate from those they've acquired, knowing that I'll be keeping the lines separate from each other. The next segment might be a little tedious, so bear with me once again. Each line encompasses several IPs, as is the Blokees way, so stay with me. The Galaxy version sees a lot of action around these parts with Transformers, Senseiya, and Ultraman. It's also their first Blokees set to kick things off with the Transformers Galaxy version 01 rollout blind boxes that we talked about earlier.
I guess with Transformers, I can't tell if they're like square looking because it's Transformers or because it's like this line of Blokees.
Easy to assemble right out of the box, and of course they come with bases that can attach to one another for a more comprehensive collecting experience.
That's cool. By the way, that's really good.
Ultraman has like 15 sets out there to date. Just insane. Next is the Shining version that is like the Galaxy version, but they light up and also so far only is for Transformers. Wait, okay, I got that wrong. Just letting you know, we were in Hong Kong for a bit and we visited a Toys R Us. There were certain things that Blokees did miss out in their American website or the English website. I didn't know that the Shining version had more IPs. Again, if we weren't in Hong Kong and at the Toys R Us, I would not have known that there were Shining editions for other IPs. Continuing on, as if things weren't good enough, Blokees made collecting these even more enticing. There's an LED in the chest piece, a transparent connector for the hit and translucent printed parts, and putting it all together, each model looks impressive. It's the little things that count. Even if it's just a single LED, that LED makes such a huge difference and it makes the model feel premium enough. Next, the Classic class probably is the first proper model kits with sprues from Blokees and only included G1 Transformers in the LEDs. However, Blokees has introduced the Champion class as a sort of rebrand of the Classic class for other IPs. The Champion class includes Transformers 1, Star Wars, Marvel, DC, and Senseiya. If you want a good idea of how it's like to build one of these kits, it more or less feels like you're building a Bandai high grade. Some people will argue with me on this like they would with everything, but in my honest opinion, it feels like a high grade, but
I don't know what a Bandai high grade is.
Easier. This would be the best kit line to introduce people into building. Entry grade Bandai kits are great, but somehow the Classic and Champion class lines feel more rewarding. The end results look great, but somehow the class...
Wait, is this a Transformer like the green one or the blue one on the right? That's some sick design, but they look much more like Japanese mecha, I guess.
Classic and Champion class lines feel more rewarding. The end results look great, there's more articulation, which means you can learn how to pose pretty effectively right out of the box, and they don't take a long time to put together, so realistically, someone new can get this built within an hour or an hour and a half. Next up is the Defender version, which is the most space efficient, affordable, and as of recently, probably had the best upgrade any fan could ask for. These dudes right here. The Defender version only features Transformers that has 6 sets released, and recently, Batman with the Batmobiles and Batman figures humongous. Defender models come with great articulation for something of their scale, a ton of character, and their details and accessories really tie everything together. The recent inclusion of the Combiners upgrade kit for Devastator and Bruticus, it's like over here, truly levels up this line and Blokees standing with fans, because what do you mean I can have a Combiner without breaking the bank? And of course, with all this talk about Transformers, I don't want to leave out Batman, because these Batman boxes are pretty new and they look pretty damn good too. Moving on, Action Edition, which has Transformers, surprise surprise, and Neon Genesis Evangelion. These are big box kits that are the size of MG kits that build a little more like high grades in some respects, I'd say. These kits, like the Evangelion kits I've built on the channel, there's a note over here, and Eva 2 is like somewhere over here. Yeah. They come with a great amount of accessories, including the lifts, paddle rifle, plugs, and in the case of Unit 0, the massive ESV shield with equally massive effect pod. On the Transformers front, to highlight one of the 5 of them, Soundwave has all of his Cassetticons and a magnetically activated sound and lighting system that plays iconic voice lines with glowing eyes.
Is it supposed to sound like that? I mean, you can't tell what he's saying.
And 58 movable joints. Action Edition is where it's at, and there are only about 8 kits, which makes sense because they're just getting started. Like anything that's starting out, there are some kinks to work out, like how Soundwave's audio chip thing, though serviceable, doesn't sound that good, or the Evangelion kits having this one leg panel that keeps popping out with EVA 1 and 2. These are issues that we can't ignore, yes, but with constructive feedback and hope, knowing Blokees are listening to their fans, unlike many other companies, they will be solved over time. Case in point is Unit 0, where the leg piece I mentioned doesn't pop out anymore. However, it isn't as flushed in as I want it to be. So I think with the Action Edition, we just gotta take it a day at a time. Besides all that, they look hella great and have great shelf presence if you care about that. Next is Blokees Wheels, Optimus Prime over here. With their first set released, also named Rollout, are Transformers in vehicle form with gimmicks and the CT01 Optimus Prime. This dude right here, which is him in his trailer mode that can be displayed as is, but more importantly, it acts as storage, just like this. That's pretty sick. It is the newest venture for Blokees at the time of recording and looks pretty damn good so far. The X Yearly Edition over here only features Transformers and Ultraman, only has 3 sets out there. So there are 2 for Transformers, one is the Golden Lagoon and Dinobot edition, and there's the Ultraman one, which I kind of forgot. The Ultraman commemorative version is called Glittering Heroes. They are collectible model kits, so either
I really want to watch more Ultraman. I still missing Tiga, and Tiga was freaking awesome, right? But yeah, I need to watch more Ultraman, and Garo, and Kamen Rider, and maybe other stuff.
As is, or build them to get your money's worth, or do what other people do. You buy one to open, you buy one to keep, and you buy one to sell. Moving on to the bigger kits, the Legend Edition, 1, 2, and 3 over here, is also fairly new with Transformers at the helm, Evangelion, Naruto, and Ultraman. There are a few of these out there, with Ultraman having 3 for Belial, Blaza, and Noah. Evangelion, which is over here, this is the EVA 01 television version. And as I was editing this video, I just found out that Blokees actually has a Unit 8 for Evangelion. Naruto, right here, has a Kurama and Naruto 2-in-1 kit. And for Transformers, they have this new Megatron that's clear. And that's about it, I think. These kits are big money and big on scale and grand accessories. They are the perfect grade or the highest grade of Blokees model kits-ish. Obviously not a PG level, but you know what I mean.
What does it mean by grade? Is grade just like the size of it?
That's the highest grade they have. Let me know where you lot place them in the comment section below, but the main thing is they offer pretty unique sets, some of them on a premium Bandai type flavor if you get my drift. Last but not least are the almost Hatsune Miku exclusive lines, the Fantastic Series and the Serendipity Edition. I say almost because Evangelion came into the picture recently. The Fantastics Edition has 2 lines, so that belongs to Evangelion and Hatsune Miku. For Hatsune Miku, you have 3 Mikus, her official getup, Sakura Miku, Miku, and Vivid Echoes. I just found out there's a fourth Miku
Vivid
in the
one is
lineup,
nice.
and there's also a blind box set for all the Vocaloids and Miku as well.
Hi, I'm from the editing phase again, and I just found out there is a third line of Mikus called the Dala mode Mikus, and they are huge blind boxes that go for like 38 USD.
For Evangelion, you have Asuka, Rei, and Mari. And I believe
They
Mari,
look
Rei,
pretty great, but again, what's the price? I just want him to tell me the price as we look at them.
Asuka also have their cockpits. Continuing on with the Fantastic series, these are PVC, soft touch, chipping and weathering resistant figures. They just need some assembly. With a whole bunch of accessories in each set, it is a joy to see everything put together. The Vivid Echoes Miku's pigtails have articulation in 3 points, and that is already on top of the already posable Miku figures in the entire line.
It looks great.
And that is
Yeah.
just pure.
I don't know why this Miku is like such a...
On top of the already posable Miku figure.
She has a manly look. I guess she's a rocker, right? But that pose, right? That pose is pretty cool.
In the entire line, and that is just pure class in giving fans more options for play. Now the Hatsune Miku exclusive Serendipity line is essentially a chibi-ish version of Hatsune Miku and built in its own way. I don't think I've seen any other lines that have done it this way just yet, but all I know is that it is cute as hell and
I don't know
easy
where
to
I put
put
my
together.
Miku figure.
Hatsune Miku fans can all agree that if there is one new Miku thing, just buy it and know you'll feel this much closer to our Lord and Savior.
Now for a fun bit or two, I was thinking of putting this part in while I was coming up with the script. I did not include it, but I am now via this iPhone footage. All of these boxes over here are not for sale, except for this one over here, which is somehow separate from its product line. For the not for sale stuff, these are usually given as gifts alongside your purchases. These Shakticons come with some Transform products. Shockwave's alternate form comes with the action edition of Soundwave. There are Hatsune Miku acrylic standees and so on. They're really giving you extra plastic for free, and they're either really good looking, full of utility, or both. This arc over here is actually a storage container. Look at that. Way to maximize your plastic. The Shakticons come in 2 sizes, so this is small. All of them open up this way, and they all hold bits as well.
That's
and these small ones
pretty
open up
smart.
this. Once again, some Blokees ingenuity right here, letting fans have these nice little kits around their house while being fully functional. And before I forget, the unicorn hits are basically just hits, but they are really cool looking hits. They just kind of move around like this on the stand.
I like the right one better.
And there's these little arcs over here. One is translucent and the other one is full-bodied. The arcs obviously don't really do much, but they act as nice contrast pieces between Unicorn's head and the arc, so you can get a sense of scale between the both of them. So if you can't afford the HasLab Unicron, you can get this, and honestly it's pretty much the same. I just grabbed that thing actually. So in terms of scale, I think the Blokees piece actually gets it pretty closely. Let me just compare the 2 arcs right here. Obviously this is smaller than that, but when you put them together, this makes a bit more sense, because in terms of scale, I think these 2 will match up pretty well. This obviously being bigger, that being smaller, but the scale is pretty much correct. I would like to think that the same thing goes for this, but let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. One more thing that's not for sale is this right here. A friend won this for me in a lucky draw when Blokees got listed in the Hong Kong exchange a little while ago, and this came in his mailbox. And this is what we got. Let's just open this up, just like that. I'm pretty sure you can't get this anywhere else on the internet except through that lucky draw. The same way how you can only get certain things by winning the BFC competitions. This is a golden Sun Wukong and a Guan Yu over here. Yeah, and you can only get this by winning that one lucky draw when Blokees got listed on the Hong Kong exchange.
You can stuff that's gonna be worth like, gazillion dollar in 50 years.
So yes, this falls on the not for sale category. If there's one other category that I think I have not listed out or spoke about yet, are the con exclusives, like the pink Optimus Prime that is numbered and was sold at Singapore Comic Con in 2024, I believe. And there's this clear Shockwave that's only available in the Philippines. During the Singapore Comic Con of 2025, Blokees also had another exclusive item, which was this clear Iron Man from the Infinity Saga. That's all the lines, I think, that Blokees has put out, and as much as I could find on their history, so that at the very least, you, the viewer, wherever you are, have a better idea of the company that's producing the plastic and sometimes PVC forms of serotonin. If they could update their website, that would be great, because I'm seeing a lot of things that should be in there that isn't in there, so it's kind of hard to keep up. I think it has to do with region availability and all that, so it's a bit confusing at times. If I do miss out on anything, I'm sorry, because I really am working with what I have. I don't think there's anything else I can add on other than
me just saying, you know, I thoroughly enjoy what Blokees has been putting out, and if they can acquire the Pacific Rim or Titanfall IPs, which I know is a long shot, I will be eternally grateful. If there's anything I missed or got wrong, let me know in the comment section below. Like what we do, follow us on all of our socials right here. We put things.
Okay, well, again, at first I was like skeptical, but a lot of this looks pretty good. I mean, and if the price is genuinely that low compared to other stuff, I mean, I don't see why not. I don't see why not. As I always say, I'm not really like buying anything these days. I got no money, but if one day I get back into the habit of collecting, you know, anime, manga, figures, and this company is still around and doing great, I mean, again, if it's cheap but actually quality, literally no reason not to go for it. Yeah, that's really it. So interesting video. I can't really comment on anything deeper since I'm not really deep into all this, but very cool. Very cool. Now I know about Blokees. Okay. Let's see. Nothing new on Discord. Next about this one. What the Super El Niño will do to our planet in 2026. By the secret of the universe. I have no idea what the El Niño is, but let's learn about it.
Right now, something is happening in the Pacific Ocean that most people have no idea about. Thousands of meters below the surface, an enormous pulse of warm water is moving eastward along the equator, invisible from above, but carrying enough heat to reshape the weather of an entire planet. Scientists have a name for it, a Kelvin wave. And where it's heading and what it's about to do when it arrives at the surface is why climate forecasters are using language this summer that most of them have never used before.
Okay.
In March of this year, forecasters gave a 22% chance of happening, a real possibility, but nothing alarming. Then April came, and that number jumped to 80%. And then the European Center for Medium-Range Weather Forecasts released its May update. The number that came back stopped people in their tracks. 100%. A 100.
Okay. I'm scared. Hold me.
100% probability
I
of
don't know
a
what this thing will
Super
do,
El
but
Niño forming by November. And the projected peak temperature of the ocean at the center of all this? 3 degrees Celsius above average.
which again, like you tell me that and I'm like, what's the problem? But I'm sure it probably caused a lot of problem. No? What does that mean? What will this do? I mean, we all know climate change has been absolutely insane, right? You know, like right now, like we're still like just started June, but it's already been like a month of like pretty crazy temperature for this time in Normandy, the top of France where I live in. I was talking to my mom, and yeah, like, you know, she's lived for 58 years, and when she was young, 30 years ago, it was never this hot at this time in this place, you know. Hello. So yeah, we're all gonna die. Let's go.
A level of heat in the Pacific that hasn't been recorded since 1877, almost 150 years ago. The forecasts are not just pointing in the same direction, they are converging faster than the models can keep up with. And what they're converging on is something that will touch almost every region on Earth.
Okay. I'm scared.
Before we talk about what a Super El Niño does, it's important to understand what El Niño actually is, because most people have heard the name without fully understanding.
You have a storm? Well, stay safe. Huh? Seems like I have the two people in the chat both have storm. Azriel was talking about a typhoon. Okay, stay safe, guys.
The mechanism. Under normal conditions in the tropical Pacific, trade winds blow from east to west, pushing warm surface water toward Asia and Australia, and allowing cold, nutrient-rich water to rise up along the South American coast. That's the baseline state of the Pacific. Warm water in the west, cooler water in the east. El Niño happens when those trade winds weaken. The warm water that was being pushed westward sloshes back toward the center and east of the Pacific. Sea surface temperatures rise significantly in the central and eastern tropical Pacific. And because the ocean and atmosphere are constantly exchanging heat and moisture, that shift in ocean temperature doesn't stay in the Pacific.
I never quite listened in science class or chemistry, and yeah, this kind of thing are a bit hard to follow for me.
Organizes weather patterns across the entire globe, changing where it rains, where it droughts, where it floods, where it burns, and ultimately pushing global average temperatures upward as the ocean releases stored heat back into the atmosphere. El Niño events happen naturally, roughly every 2 to 7 years. A weak one barely registers outside the tropics. A moderate one shifts rainfall patterns across multiple continents. A strong one reshapes the weather for an entire year or more. And a super El Niño is in a different category entirely. At that threshold, the sheer volume of heat transferred from the ocean to atmosphere is sufficient to physically displace the jet streams of both hemispheres, generating simultaneous droughts, floods, wildfires, and heat waves across countries thousands of kilometers from the Pacific.
Okay, so yeah, it just messes with like all of the different possible natural disasters by making them more likely to happen. Okay. Well.
There have been only 4 confirmed Super El Niño events since reliable records began in 1950. Each one left a mark. The 1997 to 1998 event triggered catastrophic wildfires across Indonesia, devastating flooding in Peru and Ecuador, and widespread coral bleaching across the Pacific. The economic damage ran into the hundreds of billions of dollars. The 2015 to 2016 event pushed 2016 to become the hottest year ever recorded at that time.
2016, huh? I was hikikomori in 2016. I'm sure it was hot because I lived in the south of France where it's like often over 40 degrees in summer. But I don't specifically remember like this being like the hottest year ever. Yeah.
These were serious, consequential events that affected hundreds of millions of people across multiple continents. But here's the thing. Every one of those super El Niños happened on a cooler planet than the one we're living on right now.
I mean,
the Earth today is approximately 1.3 degrees Celsius warmer than it was before industrialization. The last 12 months have been the warmest 12-month period ever recorded in human history.
I believe it.
The oceans, which absorb over 90% of the excess heat that climate change traps, are warmer than they've been in the modern record. So, when El Niño releases that stored ocean heat back into the atmosphere, as it always does, it isn't starting from the same place previous events started from. It's starting from a higher floor.
Yeah, we're in a worse state, so like natural disaster in a state that is already worse than before just means everything is worse. And it's like a continuous thing. I mean, it's, you know, every year we just make things worse, right? I mean, I know many countries have been finally kind of realizing like climate change is real and, you know, started to do some things about it, but it's still like, yeah, I mean, we have like 200 years to fix, I guess. Yeah.
Think about it like a fever on top of a fever. The body was already running hot, and now something is about to push it higher. That's what makes 2026 different. Not just the strength of the El Niño itself, but the world is arriving into.
I'll definitely check the last 2 episodes out, yeah.
This is the part that actually matters for most people watching this. because a super El Nino doesn't feel the same everywhere. Depending on where you live, it either brings too much water or not nearly enough. And understanding which side of that you're on is the key. Start with Asia. For India, Indonesia, the Philippines, and parts of Australia, a super El Nino typically means one thing: drought. The monsoon weakens. The rain that billions of people depend on for their crops and their water supply arrive late or don't arrive at all. The 2015 to 2016 Super El Nino contributed to one of India's worst agricultural droughts in decades. If 2026 matches or exceeds that intensity, the same regions face the same risk, except with larger populations and food.
I was going to say the problem is also that India is one of those countries that hasn't had the problem of population decline, right? So it's actually worse. And I was about to talk about, like these days everybody is talking about, Japan, Korea, and many countries who have, the birth rate is falling and the population is declining. In some way it's a bad thing, but in some other way, for the planet, maybe, it will be a good thing because less people, less, pollution, less overuse of the land, etc., right? I mean, it's probably gonna be decades of like hardships before things get like used under like a small population, but maybe that is the right way for things to go. Yeah.
Food systems already under stress from years of extreme weather. East Africa gets the opposite. Kenya, Somalia, Ethiopia. These regions typically see above average rainfall during El Nino, which sounds like good news until you see what that actually looks like on the ground. The 2023 to 2024 El Nino, which wasn't even a super event, caused devastating floods across the region that displaced hundreds of thousands of people. In South America, the Amazon basin faces drought and heat, dangerous in a rainforest that is already under enormous pressure from deforestation. Around 40% of the Amazon is already affected by some form of forest degradation. A strong El Nino on top of that raises wildfire risk to levels that could rival the catastrophic 2019 and 2023 fire seasons. Meanwhile, Argentina,
the world is fucked between the politics and all this. I mean, there's no hope these days. Like, I don't want to be that guy because I try to be hopeful, but seriously, between like global warming and all those natural disasters that just happen more and more, and then the political situation of the world, I mean, we're so doomed.
Southern Brazil tend to see the opposite. Wetter conditions, above average rainfall, increased flooding risk in low-lying areas. For North America, the effects depend heavily on where you are. The southern United States typically sees wetter, milder winters. The Pacific Northwest faces reduced snowpack and expanded wildfire seasons come summer. The Midwest generally gets a warmer than average winter by around 3 to 6 degrees Fahrenheit above normal. And across Europe, the latest forecast is already showing above normal temperatures.
I mean, I can tell you it's already happened. Like, they're showing France in the red there, and I can tell you, I was talking about it just before, but yeah, the fact that like the first 2 weeks of May, almost every day we had like 30 to 35 degrees was insane. Like, that was level of heat that shouldn't be there yet. Like right now it's okay, like today it's like 20 or something. Right now it's normal, but yeah, like 2 weeks ago it was crazy. And again, I live like in the north of France where it's supposed to be like way cooler, and yet.
Expected across nearly the entire continent throughout the summer months, with the strongest signal over southern Europe and the Mediterranean.
Hurricane.
Here's something that surprises most people when they first hear it. A super El Nino actually makes the Atlantic hurricane season quieter. Not safer everywhere, but quieter in the Atlantic. And understanding why reveals something genuinely interesting about how connected the world's weather systems really are. Connected and almost never reported that way. And that's actually the deeper problem with how most of us read the news today. Each of us only sees a narrow
It's so mad. Okay, I'll pass it.
slice of what we're not being shown. For example, news
Promise is like a good one, though.
former engine the boys plan by SOU. Why does that happen? Why does a heating Pacific calm down hurricanes thousands of miles away? It comes down to one thing: wind shear. When the Pacific Ocean heats up dramatically, it changes the wind patterns high up in the atmosphere over the Atlantic and the Caribbean. Those winds create what meteorologists call wind shear. Essentially, powerful gusts at high altitude that tear developing hurricanes apart before they can grow into something serious. Hurricanes need calm, consistent conditions to strengthen. Wind shear is their enemy, and a strong El Nino fills the
You're saying that. You're always only in the chat. Always talking about boobs and all that. Come on, why not boss? Why not being, spending all of our brain power into, solving the world, but also, being horny. But I see what you mean.
Atlantic with it. NOAA and AccuWeather are already forecasting a below average Atlantic hurricane season for 2026 because of this. For communities along the Gulf Coast and in the Caribbean that have lived through devastating seasons in recent years, that is genuinely good news. But here's the catch. The Pacific gets the opposite. El Nino warms the eastern Pacific, reduces wind shear there, and creates ideal conditions for storms to develop and strengthen off the coast of Mexico and Central America. AccuWeather is projecting 17 to 22 named storms in the eastern Pacific this season, with up to 8 potentially reaching major hurricane status. So while one ocean calms down, the other heats up. The Atlantic quiet.
So, again, I'm assuming like everything he's talking about is pretty accurate. Huh? Don't at the same time understand like weather and meteorological prediction can be very inaccurate as things change very fast. Huh? But I guess we should expect that like at the end of summer, so just in a couple months, things are gonna get really bad. Yeah, toward November, he said. I guess we need to get ready for that. But when I say we, it's more like government or something, I guess. Like, what am I gonna do? Damn, it's kind of scary. Do you get hot easily or cold? Hot, I mean, I'm fat. And when you're fat, you get hotter faster and you sweat faster, I guess. And I just don't like hot weather. I mean, I wouldn't say I love cold weather, but I guess I prefer cold to hot. Though obviously, like, the best is like, middle ground. You look smart. Do I? I don't have any glasses.
The Pacific intensifies, and whether that trade-off works in your favor depends entirely on which coastline you call home. Beyond the floods and droughts and hurricanes, there's a bigger number that climate scientists are watching very carefully: the global average temperature. Because a super El Nino doesn't just disrupt regional weather, it pushes the thermometer up for the entire planet. And where that thermometer ends up over the next 2 years could be genuinely historic. The pattern is reliable and well understood. El Nino releases heat that the ocean has been storing for.
We just need to cool the earth. I mean, it's not that deep, guys. We just need to say, like, everybody in the world, you leave your fridge open for 1 hour every day, and we're gonna cool the world. I mean, it's not complicated. Just leave your fridge open for a little bit, and it will be fine. Trust me.
For years back into the atmosphere. That process consistently pushes global temperatures upward. The only difference is the starting point or the baseline. The planet is already warmer than it's ever been in the modern record. So when El Nino adds its heat on top of that, the numbers go somewhere new. Carbon Brief currently projects 2026 to be the second warmest year on record. But if the 3-degree ocean anomaly the models are projecting fully materializes, scientists are warning that 2020
global temperature from the 80s to 2027. Like, okay, it's a crazy looking graph, but I guess the number is actually only like, well, only, it's a big deal, but it's only like 1.5 degrees Celsius. But that's like in 30 years, right? And looking at the graph, it's only getting faster. I mean, yeah. Like, obviously at a rate like this, wait, let me look. 2010 is right here. Like, let's say it's like half a degree every 10 years. You know, it doesn't sound like much right now, but, you know, like, imagine 50 years, right? I mean, like 4 or 5 degrees more than 50 years. And we're talking about like average. That's really bad. Especially in places that are already really hot. I mean, I can't even imagine. I mean, some countries, they get like 40 degrees Celsius, 45 easy. But it means that like in 50 years, they might get like 50. And I think, I don't know what the limit is, but at this temperature, I mean, people just die. I mean, people already die at 40 degrees, especially like elderly people, so we're doomed. We're doomed. We'll come back as well. The Evangelion pilot Blokees kits are $20-30. Okay, that's insanely cheap. Okay, insanely.
7, when the full atmospheric impact of peak ocean temperatures typically arrives, with a lag of several months, could break the global temperature record by a meaningful margin. James Hansen's team at Columbia University projects global temperatures could reach 1.7 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels by 2027. That would briefly push us above the 1.5 degree threshold that the Paris Agreement was designed to prevent. One important thing to understand here: a single year above 1.5 degrees is not the same as permanently crossing that threshold. Temperatures typically come back down when El Niño fades and La Niña.
Oh, for you it's temperature drop, huh? Interesting. The filter, yeah. I was thinking about that for me, like, it's just so much hotter these days.
Niño conditions follow. But it doesn't mean that in 2026 and 2027, more people in more places will experience what a warmer world actually feels like in their daily lives, not as a statistic, as weather. So where does all this leave us? Every major institution agrees that El Niño is coming, that it's heading towards strong or super strength, and that it's arriving on the warmest baseline in recorded history.
I mean, he said
what
100%.
that means practically is straightforward. The regions most vulnerable to El Niño, South Asian farming communities, East African populations in flood-prone areas, Amazon ecosystems already under pressure, Pacific coastlines in the path of intensifying storms, have strong scientific reason to be preparing right now, rather than waiting for certainty that may only arrive once the event is already underway. Seasonal forecasting exists precisely to create that window of preparation, and right now, that window is open. This isn't about fear, it's about information. The planet has been through super El Niños before and come out the other side, but the ones that caused the least damage were the ones where communities, governments, and farmers knew what was coming and had time to act. The forecasts this week are giving us that time. The question is, what do we do with it? So thanks for watching, and thanks to Ground.
I feel like most governments won't do much about it because, you know, like the political situation of the world right now is so busy on things like that. I feel like they won't care that much about this right now. So there'll be consequences. Okay, well, obviously, you know, scary stuff. It's no secret. I think we've all known about it. I mean, it's been decades that people have been talking about climate change, and there's already been a lot of, you know, stuff getting worse. So of course, it's only getting worse. I mean, that's just how it goes. If you come to Japan, July to September is hell flame, yeah. I would have a hard time. But at the same time, I think I'll be fine because I used to live in the south of France, as I said, and again, like, it was often over 40 degrees there, and you know, I didn't love it, but I survived it, so I can survive. Move to the moon. Yeah, scary stuff, it's all I can say. I am very spooked, scared. Good video. I guess we'll see what actually happens, but yeah, I guess we need to expect bad stuff to happen. It's sad. Wait, didn't you already make me watch this video before? Or am I crazy? I thought we already watched it, Mabek. Maybe. I'm not sure. Actually, if we did, I just posted a clip of it, so I could just check it out. Let's put this right here. Let's see. Like this. Then like this. Yeah, here we go. That's what I thought. Over a year ago we did this video. That's what I thought. I am not crazy yet. So next, what do we watch? Well, about an animal video to, you know, wash away the fears of the last video. This furry potato is an evolutionary mystery by Bizarre Beast.
This furry potato looks an awful lot like a rodent. It's got the general size and shape of your typical marmot. It has incisors that keep growing for its entire life like a rodent, and heck, could those whiskers lie? But at the mammal family reunion, you won't find the hyrax sitting by the groundhogs and the chinchillas of the world. Instead, its closest relatives hint at something much weirder going on in its evolutionary history, because its actual cousins are elephants and sea cows, and we're not sure which is closer.
Okay. I've never seen this thing, an
If you want to support the channel, the Bizarre Beast Pin Club is open for subscriptions for the whole month. Sign up by June 20th and the first pin you will get will be one of these incredible fuzzy potatoes. And stick around for the end of the video for some bonus hyrax facts. There are 6 or 7 extant species of hyraxes, depending on who you ask, and they can be found in the Middle East and throughout much of Africa. They may look cute, but they can sound truly horrible. Some hyrax species are solitary.
That's horrible to you?
Horrible. Some.
It just sounds like a bird. I don't think that's like horrible to me. What's your favorite animal? I guess for like domesticated animal, I would say dogs. And for like weird animals, I would say Komodo dragon. Because dragon. What about you?
Hyrax species are solitary and live in trees, while others live socially in groups on rock outcrops. And like a lot of animals their size, they eat plants and bugs. So far, nothing really out of the ordinary here. But before we get into their bizarre family tree, we gotta say that hyraxes have some noteworthy weirdness all their own. As a diurnal species, they can often be found basking in the sun. But this isn't just a comfort thing. They're actually not great at regulating their internal body temperature, so they need that extra solar boost to stay warm. Luckily, they have an easy time climbing and clinging to nice sunny spots thanks to their suction cup feet. The muscular structure of their foot pads combined with some fancy gland secretions help them grip onto surprisingly steep and smooth surfaces. Hyraxes also don't eat like most other animals. Their front teeth may at first glance look like gnawing incisors used by rodents, but they're actually simple tusks used for display and for grooming. So they have to turn their heads sideways to bite with their molars. Teeth that scientists at one point thought more closely resembled those of rhinos and horses, and then chew normally. From there,
Evolution is an absolute mystery sometimes. Like, how do you evolve like this where like your main teeth are useless outside of grooming yourself, and you have to do like a weird glitch of eating sideways to use your back teeth. I mean, evolution is so weird.
There, things go right back to strange again when the food makes its way to their unique multi-chambered digestive system that ferments with the help of microbes, a lot like in cows and other ruminants. But unlike true ruminants, hyraxes don't regurgitate a cud to continue chewing. Their digestive system is one way. And because they live in such dry habitats, hyraxes also have pretty efficient kidneys that help them conserve water. This means that their urine is extra concentrated when nature finally calls, and it quickly dries into something resembling molasses. So,
Wait, Digital Circus Fanon might be copyrighted. I mean, I guess you just have to wait to see if other people do reaction first and are okay, but I assume it would be fine.
Hyrax species often use middens, effectively common bathroom mounds, to do their business, creating mountains of pee crystals that fossilize over time. And
I mean, it's both disgusting and civilized, right? Because they just do their business in the same place. Kind of like us, except we made bathrooms, but you know.
fossilized hyrax waste is so abundant and unique that it even gets its own special mineral name, hyracium. Fossilization of this thick, quick-drying urine can also capture environmental data, like atmospheric radioisotopes and airborne pollen. You can think of it as a less...
How humans should evolve? I mean, it'd be nice if, you know, we were better at, like, resisting heat or cold, I guess. That's one big thing, yeah. Yeah. It also would be nice if we had, like, invincible teeth, you know? That would be nice. So my teeth don't hurt. It would also be nice if, you know, we had, like, a better, like, calorie intake limit in our body so that we couldn't get fat. That'd be nice. Hyrax are as smart as elephants.
Glamorous version of the insect in amber effect. So while colder regions can use ice cores as time capsules for studying climate change, South Africa gets to use huge piles of fossilized hyrax pee. All of this is weird and wild enough, but let's get back to the common ancestor of the elephant in the room. What is the deal with hyrax taxonomy? They look like rodents, they digest sort of like ruminants, they chew with teeth like horses, they have incisors.
In what way? What does that mean?
That are kind of like tusks. So where in the mammal family tree do they fit in? By looking at bones and later at proteins, scientists have concluded that the hyraxes belong in a clade called Penungulata, literally almost ungulates. This group is comprised of the orders Proboscidea, elephants, Sirenia, manatees and dugongs, and Hyracoidea, our friends the hyraxes. The penungulates likely arose roughly 65 million years ago, when mammals really started to go nuts after the dinosaurs were gone. And although grouping these three orders together has been pretty agreed upon since the mid-20th century, figuring out how exactly each order is related to the other two has been messy. Comparisons using anatomy, amino acids, and different gene sets have each given contradictory answers. Even with the help of increasingly sophisticated DNA tools, we still don't have a totally clear answer as...
No one is shouting bad things and help people over the countries. Oh, like, that's what you meant. That's what you meant, like tender flesh or something. Okay. So you mean people being nicer, yeah. I mean, I think that's not really something that evolution can help with. That's not really how it works, right? I mean, I guess it could, if we basically devolved, right? Like, if we got stupider, it would be easier to have, like, less bad thoughts about people and be nicer in some way, I guess. So, like, we don't want to evolve, we want to devolve, right? I'm not saying, like, animals can't be violent and mean, but, you know, because we humans are so complicated, that's why we have more ability to be mean. So, I guess if we devolve, you know, it will be better. Tender is a word for Aopa is muchi, yeah. That's what it is. Tender meat is what people say, usually.
to which of the three orders branched off when. In other words, between hyraxes, elephants, and sea cows, we still can't really tell who's more closely related to whom. Right now, there is basically equal molecular evidence supporting any of the three possible arrangements. Hyracoidea could have split off first from Proboscidea and Sirenia. Sirenia could be an outgroup to Proboscidea and Hyracoidea, or Hyracoidea and Sirenia could be more closely related to each other than to Proboscidea. And the persistence of this uncertainty makes it very possible that this specific case is an example of a polytomy. A polytomy is when speciation occurs not as a two-way branching event on a phylogenetic tree, but as a simultaneous branching of three or more species from the same common ancestor. Usually, this is simply a placeholder in an evolutionary tree until we can figure out which species branched off first, which is a scenario called a soft polytomy. But it is possible for a three-way species radiation to be, for all intents and purposes, truly simultaneous, or a hard polytomy. And
but how does, like, whatever the species before this tree was, how does that even happen, right? Like, what did it look like? Did it split into like a tiny rodent, a big ass elephant, and a sea lion, was it? No, not sea lion, mammites. Outside appearance shouldn't be used to define which animals are related. Yeah, I know that, but I do it anyway, because it's easier for my simple brain. But yeah, it's true. In every videos like this about evolution, they always talk about, this thing is related to this thing, and it just doesn't look one bit the same. World's closest relative, I suppose.
and purposes, truly simultaneous.
I mean, they're both fat, so I see the resemblance.
Or a hard polytomy. And chromosomal evidence suggests that radiation among the Penungulata orders took 4 to 7 million years, and the latest genetic analyses suggest that this radiation began from an honest-to-goodness hard polytomy. So hyraxes don't just have surprising relatives, their speciation represents a rare evolutionary occurrence as well. And to cap it off, according to some researchers, these screaming teddy bears may also have an aquatic background. Red blood cells contain the protein hemoglobin, which transports oxygen and iron throughout the body. Mussels contain a similar molecule called myoglobin, and animals that dive deep underwater and
Now I need to rewatch Set at Work. I need to rewatch that to learn about all this.
hold their breath for a long time tend to have high concentrations of extra positively charged myoglobin molecules in their muscles. The positive charge causes the molecules to repel each other, allowing myoglobins to be highly concentrated in the muscles without sticking together and becoming
Australia
useless.
is
And this extra myoglobin
crazy.
helps diving animals maximize their oxygen usage until they can get another breath. Hyraxes and elephants have this same telltale pattern of more myoglobin than most terrestrial animals, and extra charged myoglobin in their muscles. It's not as extreme as it is in, say, modern whales, but it is significantly higher than in species with strictly terrestrial mammal ancestors. Because scientists have yet to pinpoint the exact nature of the evolutionary branching of the penungulates, we can't say for sure who this past aquatic common ancestor was. But all signs point to Proboscideans, Sirenians, and Hyracoideans descending from one of the earliest known placental mammals to become underwater specialists. You might see a weird, rock-hopping guinea pig-looking critter today, but appearances alone don't tell a fraction of the
it's
long
legit.
and storied history in play here. So the evidence is in. Hyraxes definitely are not rodents, and definitely are the way-cool descendants of a common, possibly aquatic ancestor of elephants and sea cows. And their superficial similarities to rodents can be chalked up to convergent evolution. Occupy the same ecological niche long enough, and you'll eventually end up with unrelated species who
I
share
did.
similar adaptations. The confusion about the Hyrax's lineage is a reminder that taxonomy, for all of its structure and rules, is at the end of the day a human construct. We love to understand the world around us, what things are and where they come from, but our
Okay.
tools for
It's
answering
fine.
these
How about
questions
you?
always have limits. And as those tools become increasingly sophisticated, we can potentially
Like, when it's like this with just the little bit of teeth coming out, it looks kind of mean. But in some of the shots, it looks very, like, cute. I mean, kind of like a capybara, yeah, I guess. I mean, it's still kind of, like, round and fat and fluffy, you know? I just want to pet it. Yeah. I had, when I was younger, I had What's it called in English? Let me look it up. I am forgetting. Guinea pig. Yeah, I had a guinea pig. It's a smaller version, but yeah, it felt kind of like that. Just very cute, fluffy, and it made very cute noise. I mean, you know, I would call it a very moe animal, I won't lie. The sound that guinea pig makes are very moe.
Actually solve more of these evolutionary mysteries, making beasts like the Hyrax seem less bizarre to us. Don't forget to sign up for the Pin Club at bizarrebeastshow.com.
Oh, okay. Outro. Okay, well, I had never heard about the Hyrax before, you know? And obviously, I'm sure I haven't heard about like 10,000 animals. There's so many unique ones out there, right? But yeah, I'd say it's pretty cute and fairly interesting. I thought the stuff about the pea, for example, was pretty interesting. Also, again, the evolution of the teeth, yeah. Capybara, Kawa Oso, Beaver, Kamonobashi. Didn't tell them in my childhood. Do you consider birds are modern dinosaurs? I mean, yeah. Like, I've learned about that, so I guess so, yeah. Well, I don't know if they're like modern dinosaurs, but they're like the evolution of it, right? Isn't it more like crocodile or alligators that are like the closest to dinosaurs, I guess, I think. But yeah, good video and cute animal. Give me more videos about animals and I won't complain. Absolutely not. Birds are descended, yeah, that's the word. But again, then you look at something like a shoebill and yeah, I mean, you know, compared to other birds, if you tell me that's a dinosaur, I'm like, yeah, I guess so. But you know, again, we shouldn't judge by look, but seriously, that's not a dinosaur. It's so freaking cool. It's so cool. I love it. Kawaso means otter. Kamono Banashi means platypus. Oh, okay, I see. Look at the Seliema bird. Is that really the closest to dinosaurs? Okay. But I guess the shoebill is what I think of dinosaurs, you know. But maybe this is right, I guess. But damn, it's the stringer snake. Like, this still looks more like a normal bird to me, which again, I understand they're descendants, but most birds don't look scary like dinosaurs, except the shoebill. Yeah. Cool video. What do we watch next? What we do? Car video, then football video, then France video. So yeah, NASCAR most brutally honest driver. There was the news recently, like one of the biggest NASCAR drivers died, Kyle Busch, right? Which I've seen the name in a few videos about NASCAR that we watched, I mean, on the channel and that I've watched outside of the channel. He was only like 40 something, I think. Pneumonia, I think it was. Kind of crazy. Maybe I should watch a video about him eventually. The new God of War game trailer. I haven't. I'm holding off on all the trailers because for the week it will be Summer Game Fest. And I think at the end of the week, or after it's finished, I'll do like a stream checking out all the trailers that seem interesting. Though today I reacted to Ace Combat 8 trailer, yeah. Did dog exist in Dinosaur Era? I mean, I'm pretty sure not, because dogs are like evolution of wolf, right? And wolf showed up like way after dinosaurs and all that, right? Yeah, probably not 2 weeks ago. So yeah, this is NASCAR Most Brutally Honest Driver by Rogator.
What was your thought about Keselowski's little declaration?
Who?
Wait, that's the guy that I was just talking about, right?
This is Kyle Busch. If he doesn't like...
Okay, well, here we go. Here we go, yeah. Rest in peace, I guess, since we decided.
Like you, he'll let you know. If the fans didn't like something he said, he won't care. If you're being a complete menace on the racetrack around him, he'll tell you straight to your face. And this is exactly what has caused the entire NASCAR fan base to completely split between loving or hating him. The Coke 600 is one of the few NASCAR races that holds prestige over most of the others. This is called a crown jewel, and winning one of them is a big
Love the
deal.
Coke.
Like, a really big deal. And so when Kyle Busch finally passed Martin Truex Jr. on the final lap of 2017's edition, he imagined it would be the pass he'd need to make for the win. But this wasn't like any other race. This specific race ended on fuel strategy, meaning Austin Dillon saved enough fuel to make it to the end without
Dillon.
and Busch hated the fact that he lost the race in that way. I'll admit, seeing the guy in your windshield win off of pure strategy and not speed as you're closing in on him probably hurts than most people would understand. So after the race,
Orange? Do you mean like blue because I put you as mod so you could share links? That's what you mean, maybe?
Kyle stayed in his car, took a moment to collect himself, and prep for post-race interviews. But as more and more time passed, Busch would only grow more annoyed as he reflected on what exactly he just missed out on. And by the time he arrived to speak with the media, he displayed not a single care in the world to answer anything.
And were you surprised that Austin could stretch it on fuel? And then, I mean, what does it mean, do you think, for Austin to get his first win?
I'm not surprised about anything. Congratulations.
And bro, let's not lie.
I'm not surprised,
I'd be salty
motherfucker.
too if I just lost to Austin Dillon. You get to pull into the pits while he celebrates on the front stretch and dabs on your ass. It's like getting killed by a kid in Fortnite and they just start doing a whole emote performance over your body. Oh my god, wait. Austin Dillon plays Fortnite. Now it's all
Wow.
making sense. But at least they're teammates now. I don't really know if that's a good thing. I just felt like saying that. But what about the time they repaved Atlanta Motor Speedway? NASCAR drivers loved this speedway because the surface was extremely old, and that made it one of the most challenging tracks in terms of dealing with tire wear and grip. When they repaved the track, they added higher banking, and now it can be best described as Talladega's little brother. There's no resemblance between the new and old versions, so when a reporter asked Kyle Busch if he liked the track now, this is what he said.
This type of racing.
Oh, you managed to get me red. In YouTube comment section, reference about you look orange, okay. I don't know.
Is it making you more an entertainer than a driver? Yep.
You like this version of Atlanta better than the old one?
To be fair, Atlanta did go from a driver's track to one that seemed to be designed with entertainment in mind, and my gosh was it entertaining. NASCAR's 2023 race here was one of the top races of the season. The end of stage number 1 was very intense, and it's everything you should want to see as a NASCAR fan. Some lapped cars in NASCAR are just very extremely slow, and one of these drivers was Garrett Smithley, where Kyle Busch did not expect for him to sit in the middle of the racetrack. He almost wrecked just trying to avoid such an obstacle, and when he smashed Smithley's rear bumper, it completely destroyed his splitter. Ironically, this contact made his car drive as slow as a tortoise, just like the number 52 who was in his way to begin with, and he dropped from 10th to finish 19th place, completely ruining his day. So when the time came for interviews, Busch...
I mean, I have finally played a racing game in like the first time in fucking like since PS2, I think. Like 4006. I played it last week. I played cracked, so I didn't play online or anything. One day I'm hoping to buy it so I can play online one day. It was pretty fun, yeah. I just wanted to try it at first, just for the sake of it. Also, what is it with game being like 150 gigabytes these days, but that's something else. And yeah, it was kind of fun. I mean, I don't think I was very good because I was playing with AI and I played on like average difficulty, but I kind of liked it. Maybe it's like the setting that helps, I don't know. I think one thing I really enjoy about it sometimes was like less the racing. In the game there's like collectible, I guess, and some of them you just need to like look at the minimap and drive onto them. But then there was a few that were like you had to do like some kind of trick jumps where they would put like an XP board at the top of like a bunch of rocks, and you had to like scour the terrain to find like you know, there was multiple things that looked like it could make you do a jump, but obviously, like, you need a precise, you know, like ramp, I guess, and so you would have to figure out like which one to take and what speed and what car. I thought that was kind of fun. I almost enjoyed that more than the race, because most of the race, at least against the AI, was just me like bumping into them, and that's it. Mario Kart only. The best racing game using AI. I mean, AI is definitely something that could be good for like the AI in racing game. Obviously, like the AI in racing game so far has been like it's not a true intelligence. It's like a programmed intelligence, you know, like the way we've all talked about AI for a long time in games is not the same as like an actual AI. So it could be interesting. It could be interesting. Yeah. AI generated maps. I guess that's also an option. Yeah, like you could just take like grow a map of your town and then tell the AI to make a map of your town and make a race there, I guess. That could be kind of fun. Maybe.
Told it exactly how it was.
What happened there with the 53 they're late?
52, get it right. Don't know.
Or what happened there at the beginning of the race?
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
You feel okay about your chances overall?
Don't care. Just here so I don't get fined. I'm answering the dumbest questions over.
Get fined for not talking to the reporter? You can get fined for that?
And over again. Am I good? We're at the top echelon of motorsports, and we got guys that have never won late model races running out here on the racetrack. It's pathetic. They don't know where to go.
It's somewhat similar to the time where Brad Keselowski doored him off turn 4 at Martinsville in an effort to finish second place. In hindsight, this contact was very pointless, and they collided again after the checkered flag, which caused Busch to go on a tangent.
Well, he drills my coming out of 4 for no reason. I mean, where was he going? What was he going to do? Spin me out? He was trying to do a Harvick is what he was trying to do. For what? For second place? So stupid. I've already had to pay enough fines in my lifetime. I'm sure I'll get another one.
Honestly, I have to agree.
I mean, Forza Horizon 6 does like the... You don't actually have to look the map. You have like arrows guiding you on the road itself, which is what you're looking at anyway. And the arrows have like different colors on when you need to brake or turn. So, you know, I think they figured out the way to not have you look at the map.
Agree with Kyle Busch. This is only something that should be happening in a NASCAR video game. Like, where was bro going? He could have just been a few years early and wall-righted the final turn to win the whole race. But anyways, that finish was crazy and everyone remembers it because of how viral it went. But did you know Kyle Busch was actually part of one of the most iconic finishes in NASCAR history? This finish was epic. Larson ran Busch into the wall in the final lap, so for the 18, anything goes in the final corner. He pushed the 42 too hard into the corner.
Hit by a car, I mean, I got my foot driven over once, didn't break anything by chance, and one time I was like biking as a kid, and I was like in a slope on the right side, and as I turned, there was like some guy that comes up behind me with his car, and I don't know if he did it on purpose or he didn't see me, but he really hugged the right side of the road, and you know, he clearly didn't care, so I basically like just fell into the grass on the side. That's about it. That's about it.
Used this wall to help turn his car and sailed to victory only to hear boos rain down from the grandstands. But why? This finish is what NASCAR is all about. Well, okay, I'm not gonna waste your time, I'll tell you exactly why. Remember how I said in the start of this video that NASCAR fans either love or hate Kyle Busch? Well, the average NASCAR fan certainly liked Larson more than Busch. So, great finish, bad winner. The funny part is Larson wasn't even mad. After the finish, he pulled up next to Busch and gave him a thumbs up. So when Busch heard the crowd's response, he mocked them because yes, that finish was indeed crazy good.
If it wasn't for lap traffic, it wouldn't even have been a race. I don't know what y'all are whining about, but if you don't like that kind of racing, don't even watch.
That famous quote from Talladega Nights,
If you ain't first, you're last.
is Kyle Busch in a nutshell, especially considering how much he despises second place. Busch had a miserable truck race at Charlotte, but he was able to rally back to finish second. But as we saw earlier, second place is just the first loser. So although the rally through the field was impressive, he gave all the credit
In Japan, bikes need to run road for cars, but it's not wide and dangerous.
to himself and absolutely none of it to his pit crew.
You gotta be kidding me. We lose 6 spots every time coming down, and you guys can't figure out how to jump off the wall.
Can you talk about how you made your way back to the field?
Pure talent. That's about it. My pit crew did absolutely nothing to help me out tonight. My truck drove like you can't pass in traffic, you can't race alongside.
He's even trashing his own team. He said fuck, maybe, yeah.
Anybody, you can't get within 5 truck lengths of no one, but somehow, someway, I was able to get back to the front. Had a blast.
So Kyle wasn't a fan of his truck that day, but he also hated NASCAR's Car of Tomorrow. Very goofy name, just like the goofy spoiler on the back of all the cars. Man, nothing screams stock car like pimping it out to look like it belongs in this scene from the Cars movie. To be fair, the stock cars in the sport were having an identity crisis because every manufacturer looked the exact same, and there were definitely no real-life cars that had any resemblance to these. But perhaps something worse than the way they looked was the way they drove. Busch won the first ever race in a Car of Tomorrow, and he said they completely sucked to drive.
I'm still not a very big fan of these things.
Didn't get him out, like he hated restrictor plate, and yet he was the best at it or something. I guess this guy is kind of similar, yeah.
Can't stand to drive when they suck.
You probably didn't know that Kyle Busch was once accused of wrecking on purpose. The spin in question was this one on lap 2 at Watkins Glen. Reporter Bob Palkris didn't know that there was actually contact here, and so he asked Busch if he regretted spinning and getting into it with Byron last week. Busch proceeded to say,
I didn't do shit, Bob. Well, let me ask you this.
Busch has been racing in NASCAR for over 20 years now. He's raced with the likes of Mark Martin, Jimmy Johnson, Dale Jr., but now he races with Ross Chastain, Joey Logano, and Ty Gibbs. Over the years, there's been a clear mentality shift from NASCAR drivers where it's all take and no give. So after all of this dirty racing, Kyle Busch finally went on a rant.
Now you're going down the right path, as we have completely lost any sense of respect in the garage area between drivers. There was an etiquette that once did live here. I mean, it did exist. That's gone.
But again, there's no lies detected. Most race fans could agree to these statements, that overall NASCAR's dirtier than what it used to be. Now that
is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't watch obviously, but it sounds like a good thing to me. Like, well, dirty, you know, they're not shooting each other, but it sounds like it's more competitive that way, right? Like, you are just an opponent and I will destroy you. But maybe people enjoy that aspect of the, like, respectful, you know, respect in sport can be cool. Sportsmanship, as people call it. I don't know. In sumo, there's that debate all the time. You know, like Enka is a big one. I always talk about it, but in sumo, you know, you start by 2 guys running into each other, right? And it's like the classic start. But sometimes, and it's an allowed technique, there's something called an Enka. So like one guy will charge and the other guy will just dodge, letting the other guy like just fall. And that's kind of like something that's always debated as like, you know, the most disrespectful thing to do, and you know, it should be banned and all that, even though it's been in the rules for like forever, right? And it's people talking about like, you know, the sportsmanship. You're supposed to take the initial charge, the tachi, but yeah, I feel like in every sport there must be stuff like this. I always feel mixed about it. Like, I enjoy sportsmanship, but I also enjoy like when people really either hate each other or like they really like aren't friendly with their competitors and are really just doing everything to win within the rules. I mean, I can enjoy both sides of it.
drivers aren't fully to blame, you can also look at the racing package that bunches everyone closer together than ever before, as well as the playoffs and stages that put points on the table at all times. There's a lot to gain, but also a lot to lose if you don't shift your driving style to be greedy. Greedy. I know of a driver who's greedy. Brian Vickers was greedy while racing Kyle Busch for the win in the Nationwide Series. Approaching the final lap, Brad Keselowski was lurking in the shadows when Vickers was so tunnel visioned and not letting Busch pass, so he chased him to the bottom of the track and side drafted. And all of this happened while Keselowski was just easily able to pass on the outside. But ironically, this same exact thing happened in Busch's favor just a few years later. I'm sure you could guess that Kyle couldn't help himself from being brutally honest about this situation.
He hung up my right rear quarter panel, and the 88 just drove right by both of us on the outside because Brian Vickers was trying to slow both of us down. Just stupid. Unfortunately, you race with idiots, and you know, I guess you'll have that sometimes.
So is it good or bad for NASCAR to have a personality like Kyle Busch? All I know is that it sure makes for quality entertainment. Hit subscribe so you can...
I mean, it's not even that bad. Maybe I'm just too used to the UFC, but like, he sounds very mild to me. But I guess if he's the one that stands out, it means that everybody else talks very like polite in NASCAR. But like, he hasn't really insulted anyone per se, except his own team. It doesn't sound that bad. Yeah, it really doesn't sound that bad. But it does sound like entertaining to listen to. Well, sounded.
Say you've been here before 100K and easily watch more videos
I guess
like
that's it. I guess this video was made before he passed away, yeah. Once again, seemed like a character. I'd like to learn more about it. Oh yeah, 2 years ago. Good video. Rest in peace. Yeah, definitely a shame what happened to him. Okay. All I can say. Next we have this video, Let's Be Real about Japan, and I guess it's the history of the J-League, you told me, by Ped Talks Football.
The story of Japanese football is honestly one of the craziest transformations the sport has ever seen.
Picks up Kubo down the left again. Kubo goes himself, and that will do it for Japan.
A few decades ago, football in Japan was nowhere near the top of their sports culture. Baseball completely dominated. Sumo wrestling was deeply connected to tradition. I'd love to do this one day. And football was mostly seen as an amateur sport played by company workers. So Japan wasn't viewed as a serious football nation at all. Now, everything is different.
Nakamura cross, and Kaoru Mitoma scores for Japan.
It's funny, yesterday I watched the Conan movie 16, which was about soccer basically.
Japan feels like one of the most dangerous teams outside of their traditional superpowers. The Blue Samurai now genuinely believe they can beat elite nations, and recent World Cups prove that confidence is not fake. They don't have a fake ego like someone like Garnacho. Wins over countries like Germany and Spain showed the world that Japan is no longer just a nice underdog story. What makes this moment feel even bigger is that it's the result of years of work in the making. Japan invested heavily into coaching, youth development, infrastructure, and sending players abroad to Europe. Now, the country is finally seeing the full results of that long-term vision. The current squad perfectly reflects the evolution of Japanese football. On one side, you still have veterans like Yuto Nagamoto. This guy's pushing 40, yet he's going to his 5th World Cup. He's basically the living connection between different generations. Like, I still remember using this guy's gold card in FIFA 12 Ultimate Team. That's how long it's been. Nagamoto experienced the era when Japan was still trying to prove it belonged at this level, alongside pioneers like Nakata and Kazuki Honda. Then you look at the younger stars and realize how different things are now. This generation grew up in a football culture where Japan regularly qualified for World Cups,
Just troll teenager named Gamacho who had a shit season with Chelsea,
and exported players to Europe's biggest leagues. Players like Kubo are starring in Spain. Ueda has become one of the most exciting forwards in the Netherlands. Mitoma was killing it in England at Brighton, and Minamino was cooking in France. These players are technically brilliant, but they are also physically stronger, more intelligent tactically, and have way more experience against elite competition than Japanese players from previous generations. They qualified for the 2026 World Cup faster than almost anybody else, becoming the first non-host nation to secure their spot, and they did it while dominating Asian qualifying in a way that made them look far ahead of the rest of the continent. Japan still has the speed, discipline, and technical quality they've always been known for, but now there's another layer to this team. Most of the squad has been tested in Europe against world-class oppositions every single week. Looking back at where Japanese football started, the rise feels unbelievable. Modern Japanese football is actually very young compared to most major football nations. The professional league, the J-League, wasn't even created until 1993. Before that, football in Japan was still mostly tied to company teams and amateur structure. The national team had very little relevance globally and was nowhere near the level of the world's biggest football countries. Then came one of the most painful moments in Japanese sports history, the tragedy of Doha. In 1993, Japan was seconds away from qualifying for its first ever World Cup. The dream was right there, but in the final moments against Iraq and Qatar, Japan conceded a heartbreaking late equalizer that crushed their qualification for the 1994 tournament. The players collapsed to the ground in tears, and the entire country was devastated. But strangely, that moment became the start of everything.
That's what you need. You need an anime backstory to motivate you. We lost, never again. I will train stronger, I will get better, and I will never lose again.
The pain of Doha created urgency inside Japanese football. The country realized it needed to completely change how it developed players, build infrastructure, and approach the sport. Because you know, Japan is actually a well-run country. That heartbreak became the fuel that pushed Japanese football into a new era. 5 years later, Japan reached their first ever World Cup at France in 1998. That team was placed into a brutal group with...
The year I was born and the year that France won the World Cup, which anytime I go anywhere and someone asks me what year I was born in France, if they're older, I guess, they'll definitely mention, oh, you were born the year we won the World Cup. People always tell me that, and I'm like, yeah. And I have never anything more to say because I don't watch soccer, right? So like, I don't even know any of the name of the people from the team back then or anything. It's one of those things, yeah. It's one of those things.
Argentina, Croatia, and Jamaica. Realistically, nobody expected Japan to compete, and I mean they didn't. They lost all 3 matches and finished near the bottom of the tournament standings. They were basically the international version of Tottenham, but the experience was still historic for the country. Just being there felt like a breakthrough. Then came a moment that Japanese fans will never forget. On June 26, 1998, striker Masashi Nakayama scored against Jamaica, becoming the first Japanese player to ever score a goal at the World Cup.
Nakayama, and Japan have the goal they crave.
Japan still lost the game 2-1, but back home, the celebrations were enormous because there was a feeling that they had finally reached the biggest stage of football. That tournament also introduced the world to Nakata, the player that many people still consider the first true global icon of Japanese football. At just 21 years old.
Do you watch other sports related to club clash each other? I only watch MMA and sumo, that's it. Those are the 2 that I watch, nothing else. I mean, maybe a bit of kickboxing or Muay Thai, but I don't really watch any kind of team sport, yeah. No, I don't.
Nakata played with confidence, creativity, and a personality that completely stood out on the international stage. With his dyed hair, technical brilliance, and fantastic vision with the ball, he became the face of a new football generation in Japan and opened the doors for future Japanese stars to move abroad and succeed in Europe. 4 years later, everything changed for Japanese football. The 2002 World Cup was held in East Asia, with Japan and South Korea co-hosting the tournament. For Japan, this was so much more than just a football event. It became a cultural explosion that pushed the sport into the center of the country's identity. Under French coach Philippe Trousier, Japan played with incredible discipline and organization. He was extremely demanding as a manager, and his team reflected that. Japan looked structured, aggressive, and mentally prepared in a way that the country had never seen before on the world stage. The tournament started with a dramatic 2-2 draw against Belgium, but the real breakthrough came a few days later. On the 9th of June 2002, Japan defeated Russia 1-0 in Yokohama to secure the nation's first ever World Cup win. Inamoto scored the winning goal and instantly became a national hero. The atmosphere inside the stadium was ridiculous. Fans across the country celebrated wildly because this felt like proof that Japan could finally compete at the highest level of world football. Japan then beat Tunisia 2-0 to finish at the top of the group and qualify for the round of 16 for the first time in its history. Football in Japan completely exploded after that moment. The national team suddenly became one of the biggest stories in the country, and the tournament inspired an entire generation of young players who would later help push Japan even further. Now, unfortunately, the dream eventually ended with a 1-0 loss to Turkey in the knockout stage, but by that point the result almost felt secondary. The 2002 World Cup gave Japanese football belief, identity, and a foundation that would shape the future of the sport in the country for decades. By the time the 2006 World Cup rolled around, the expectations around the Japanese national team was higher than ever. The country believed it had finally gone a golden generation. Players like Nakata, Nakamura, and Shinji Ono were technically gifted, experienced, and respected around the world. On paper, this looked like the strongest Japanese team ever assembled. It was like their version of the Avengers. To lead them, Japan hired Brazilian legend Zico, one of the greatest attacking players in football history. Zico wanted Japan to play with creativity, freedom, and flair, instead of the strict, rigid structure that they had used before. Now yes, the idea sounded exciting, especially given how talented the group of players they had were. They were capable of playing beautiful football. But once the tournament started, everything went wrong. Japan's opening match against Australia became one of the most painful collapses in the country's football history. Japan led one.
It's definitely like, it sounds like a mistake, right? I mean, everybody knows like Japan is a very like rigid country that works a lot with the rules and within the rules. So why try to do the absolute opposite? Clearly there was good result with the last coach that made them like very rigidly follow the rules. I don't know.
1-0 for most of the game and looked in control heading into the final minutes. Then disaster struck. Australia suddenly scored 3 times after the 84th minute, turning a comfortable Japanese win into a shocking 3-1 defeat almost instantly.
And the ball's going in. Cahill It's his day! Luisi, 3-1! Australia win it!
That loss completely damaged the team's confidence. Kind of like how my confidence gets shattered when I see these Asian baddies with the most mid-looking white dudes. Like seriously, what the hell is up with that?
Money. It's not confidence. It's money.
Japan
And sometimes love, sure, sometimes.
followed that with a 0-0 draw against Croatia. Yoshikatsu Kawaguchi became the hero after saving a penalty and keeping the team alive in the tournament. But the final group match against Brazil exposed all of Japan's weaknesses. Brazil dominated the game and crushed Japan 4-1, ending the campaign in humiliating fashion. After the tournament, Zico blamed the brutal heat and the early afternoon kickoff times in Germany, but most people felt the issues were due to tactical reasons. Japan had talent, but the team lacked defensive organization. They lacked structure and balance. Too much freedom on the pitch turned into chaos when the pressure increased. They looked like the international version of Real Madrid in that tournament. For many fans, 2006 remains one of the most disappointing World Cups in Japanese history because the expectations were so high and the collapse felt so sudden. The tournament also marked the emotional end of an era. Shortly after Japan's elimination, Nakata announced his retirement from football at only 29 years old. The face of modern Japanese football walked away from the game immediately after the country's biggest disappointment, closing the chapter on the generation that first introduced Japan to the world stage. After the disaster of 2006, Japan arrived at the 2010 World Cup in South Africa with far lower expectations. But instead of collapsing again, the team responded with one of the most memorable tournaments in the country's history. This was the World Cup where Kazuki Honda truly became the face of Japanese football. Nicknamed the Emperor because of his confidence and huge personality, Honda played with swagger and belief that perfectly matched the moment. Playing in a false nine role, he became the center of Japan's attack and immediately delivered in the opening match against Cameroon by scoring the winning goal in a massive 1-0 win.
Matsui's ball in, here's Honda! Japan have the lead!
That win completely changed the mood around the team. But the real masterpiece came in the final group match against Denmark. Japan produced one of the greatest set-piece performances in World Cup history. Take notes, Arsenal. This is how set pieces are supposed to look like, not like WrestleMania. Honda stepped up and smashed in an incredible swerving free kick from long range that left the goalie frozen.
They're trying to make sure he is offside. Sorensen has been beaten by the shot from distance.
Then Endo followed with another beautiful curling free kick of his own.
How about that? Yasuhito Endo this time.
Japan won the match 3-1 and advanced to the round of 16. The knockout game against Paraguay became a tense, exhausting battle. Neither team could break the deadlock during normal time or extra time, and the match eventually went to penalties. That's where the heartbreak came. Japan lost the shootout 5-3, beginning what would become a painful pattern of penalty heartbreaks for the national team in later tournaments. I don't know why these guys somehow suck at shootouts. The players were devastated, but despite the elimination, the 2010 squad changed the perception of Japanese football. For the first time, Japan truly looked capable of going into a World Cup away from home and beating strong teams under pressure. The team showed discipline, confidence, and quality, while Kazuki Honda emerged as a global star and one of the most iconic figures in Japanese football history. Heading into the 2014 World Cup in Brazil, the expectations around Japan were high again. The team looked incredibly talented on paper. Japanese players were now playing for massive European clubs like AC Milan, Manchester United, and Inter Milan. Shinji Kagawa was highly rated during this time. The belief was that Japan had finally reached another level, technically and individually. Their coach, Alberto Zaccheroni, wanted the team to play brave attacking football with confidence on the ball. You know, the complete opposite of Chelsea. But once the tournament started, Japan looked tense and emotionally fragile. In the opening match against Ivory Coast, Japan took the lead and seemed in control, but everything quickly collapsed in the second half as Ivory Coast turned the game around to win 2-1. Then came a frustrating 0-0 draw against Greece. Keep in mind, in that match, Greece played much of the game with just 10 men. Japan struggled badly to break them down, and suddenly the team entered the final group game needing a huge result against Colombia just to survive. Instead, Colombia completely exposed them. James Rodriguez tore through Japan's defense as Colombia won 4-1, ending the tournament in a humiliating fashion for the Japanese. For many fans, the 2014 World Cup became a harsh lesson. Japan had technically gifted players at major European clubs, but the team lacked intensity, physicality, and a clinical striker capable of deciding matches under pressure. Then came one of the most heartbreaking matches in Japanese football history. The 2018 World Cup in Russia was an emotional roller coaster from the beginning to the end. Like, Japan had more ups and downs than your local hooker. They shocked the world in their opening match by beating Colombia 2-1.
Against Ospina and Japan.
Speeder stays at home and it's in. Japan hit the front again.
Becoming the first Asian country ever to defeat a South American team at a World Cup. That win gave the team huge confidence going into the knockout round, where they faced Belgium's Golden Generation squad. But nobody, and I mean nobody, could have predicted what happened next. Japan played fearlessly and took a shocking 2-0 lead through goals from Haraguchi and Takashi Inui.
It's a great chance for Haraguchi. He scores.
It's in.
Will eventually come in. 2-0. Takashi Inui.
For a moment, it genuinely looked like Japan was about to produce one of the greatest upsets in World Cup history. But Belgium fought back and equalized to make it 2-2. Then came the moment that still haunts Japanese football. In the final seconds of the game, Japan won a corner kick. Instead of slowing the game down and preparing for extra time, you know, playing the haram football that Arsenal would have, these guys pushed forward trying to win the match immediately. Well, Belgium's goalkeeper Courtois caught the ball cleanly, launched a rapid counterattack, and just 14 seconds later, Nasser Chadli scored the winning goal at the other end.
Look out, and here's a winner! Oh, can you believe it?
The speed and brutality of the collapse shocked the whole country. That counterattack became so famous in Japan that reportedly there were documentaries that were made later trying to analyze every second of what went wrong. All they had to do was just waste some time, and they could have avoided this. I would suggest learning from Mikel Arteta, aka football's Bin Laden. Even though the defeat was heartbreaking, the performance also showed.
What the fuck does that even mean? Like, obviously I have no context, but like, what does that even mean when you compare someone to Bin Laden? What?
How close Japan was to reaching the world's elite level. Then came the World Cup in Qatar in 2022. Japan was placed into what looked like an impossible group with Germany and Spain, two former world champions. Most people expected Japan to finish either third or at the bottom of the group. Instead, these guys stunned the entire footballing world. Against Germany, Japan went behind 1-0 early, but Hajime Moriyasu made some brilliant substitutions in the second half. Ritsu Doan and Takuma Asano came off the bench and completely changed the game as Japan came back to win 2-1.
Okay.
Oh, it is an equaliser for Japan. Lovely touch there from Asano. The shock is now very much.
It was such a tight goal.
Finally, Japan was on the other side of a comeback. Then
L'État replaced the forbidden tactic, in Arabic language, despite it technically doesn't violate the rules. Okay, I see what you mean. Yeah. It's like, it's legal under rules, but the fans see it as like, you know, like low-level tactics or something. Okay.
They did it again, this time against Spain. Japan once again fell behind 1-0 before Moriyasu's tactical changes transformed the match. Doan scored again.
Enough for Germany at the moment, but here comes Japan. Oh, yes!
Clean.
What an impact for Ritsu Doan!
Tanaka added another.
And into the danger area! Oh, it's in!
Nice.
And Japan beat Spain 2-1 to finish at the top of the group ahead of both European giants. The world suddenly looked at Japan differently after those performances. They were no longer just a disciplined underdog team. They looked tactically intelligent, fearless, and finally capable of beating big nations under pressure. But then the familiar heartbreak returned in the round of 16. For some reason, these guys can just never get past this stage. Japan faced Croatia and battled through another tense match.
I assume it's not that weird, right? Like, considering the World Cup is something that happens every 4 years, and I assume there's like most countries in the world in it. I assume majority of countries, not just Japan, have never won it, right? Like, this story is probably the same stories for like many other countries who just never made it. I assume.
That eventually went to penalties, and as we have seen, pens are Japan's kryptonite. So once again, the shootout ended in pain as Croatia eliminated them. Even though they didn't reach the quarterfinals, Qatar 2022 changed Japan's global reputation. The Blue Samurai left the tournament with the respect of the football world and the growing belief that they might finally be ready to break through at the next World Cup. Heading into the 2026 World Cup, this Japan team is chasing something much bigger than just surviving the group stage. For the first time in the country's country's history, the expectation around them is to finally reach the quarterfinals and break through the barrier that has stopped them so many times before. What makes this Japan team so dangerous is their flexibility. Under Hajime Moriyasu, Japan has developed into a side that can completely change styles depending on the opponent. Sometimes they dominate possession with quick passing and movement. Other times they sit deep, absorb pressure, and explode forward on the counter. That tactical flexibility has made them one of the most unpredictable teams that we have seen in international football. At the center of this new era is Ayase Ueda. For years, one of the biggest criticisms of Japan was the lack of a true elite striker. The team often created chances, but lacked a ruthless finisher capable of
They just haven't got Shinichi. They just need Shinichi.
consistently deciding games. Ueda has started changing that conversation completely. The Feyenoord striker has become one of the most feared Japanese forwards in years. During World Cup qualifying, he finished as Japan's top goal scorer and carried that incredible form into the 2026 cycle. He was killing it for Feyenoord. He plays like a classic number 9. He wants to attack crosses, fight with the center backs physically, and then finish the moves inside the box. He's strong in the air, very aggressive off the ball, and far more direct than many previous Japanese forwards. His time in Europe has helped him sharpen his finishing, and now he's become the exact type of number 9 that Japan had been missing for years. Then there's Kubo, the player that many fans see as the true superstar of this generation, the Japanese Messi. If Ueda is the finisher, Kubo is the creator. Once a part of Barcelona's academy as a child, Kubo has grown into one of the best attacking players in La Liga with Real Sociedad. He's still a young guy, only entering his prime years now, and playing with incredible confidence. After all, his club did lift the Copa del Rey. Kubo's biggest weapon is his intelligence. No, that's not a stereotype because he's Asian. He's just a very smart footballer. Technically on the ball, he's brilliant, especially on that left foot. But what separates him from others is the way he reads the game. He constantly finds small spaces between the defenders and has the capability to create moments out of nothing. For Japan, he is the player they look towards when they're playing against a low block or they're playing against a team that is parking the bus and they need that moment of brilliance. Behind them, Endo gives the entire team balance and leadership. Playing for Liverpool, Endo has become one of the most respected defensive midfielders Japan has ever produced. He's the Japanese N'Golo Kante. He does all the dirty work that allows Japan's attacking players to shine. He wins tackles, covers space well, relentlessly presses the opposition, and protects the back line with so much intensity. But Endo's impact goes beyond tactics. He is the emotional leader of this team. Every great national side needs a player willing to sacrifice everything for the group, and Endo represents that mentality perfectly. One of the most exciting names in the squad is Suzuki. And no, I'm not saying that because it's the name of the car, I'm just talking about him as a player. Born in New Jersey and now developing in Italy, Suzuki represents the modern evolution of Japanese goalkeepers. He's tall, athletic, confident with the ball at his feet, and far more physically dominant than many goalkeepers that Japan have produced in previous generations. And then there's Nagamoto, who is still going strong at 39 years old. Maybe if he showed his abs on Instagram, people would talk about his longevity more, because apparently that's what it takes to get people talking about you. Even if he no longer starts every match, his presence inside the squad is incredibly important. This will be his 5th World Cup, something no Japanese player has ever achieved before. Japanese football has come a long way since the heartbreak of the tragedy of Doha in 1993. What started as a painful failure became the spark that completely transformed the sport in the country. Over the last 3 decades, Japan built a professional league, invested heavily in youth development, sent players to Europe, and slowly created a football culture capable of competing with the world's elite. Now, a team standing in their way is the Netherlands. To see just how good the Dutch are, you have to check out this video right here.
Well, very, very interesting. I mean, I love stories like this. You know, this is how you get into sports, right? Like, a story like this. You know, I've never actually watched, I said before, but I don't think I've ever watched a soccer match. I've played a few in, you know, real life. I've played like FIFA or PSG game from like, you know, late 2000s PS3. But, you know, I've never watched one, like an actual game, even though I'm sure I would enjoy it. I mean, I think it's pretty straightforward, right? It's pretty fun and straightforward to watch. So maybe I should watch the World Cup 2026, rooting for Japan, because I guess I know their story. Maybe. We'll see. Like, frankly, I won't even hear about it if no one tells me about it, because, since again, I don't really follow stuff like soccer, I don't even know if I would hear about it. But yeah. Cool story. I really like stories like this. I mean, obviously, waiting for the payoff, right? Them winning, which might not happen in 26, but yeah, maybe eventually. Maybe eventually. Great video. Great video. Really I enjoyed that one. No. Okay, what do we watch next? So yeah, I said this one. But yeah, I'll take a quick break before we do that. Coming back in 5 minutes as often. Okay, I am back. Sorry for the wait. So yeah, let's continue. And this time we're watching this video. Hello Adrienne. The Reformation in France, a war of faith that changed the nation by historian attempt. I don't really know much about it. I mean, I know obviously Christianity is split into Protestant and Catholics. That's what it is, right? And I mean, it's not just France. I guess most of Europe was fighting about it. Not support France in FIFA World Cup. I mean, I don't really know anything about the French team, you know? Like, if they have a good story, maybe I would support them, I guess.
In the 16th century, France found itself at the epicenter of a religious upheaval. New ideas about faith shook the foundations of the kingdom. The Reformation turned into a bloody struggle. How did a religious dispute lead to the St. Bartholomew's Day massacre? And why did one of the kings, renouncing his faith, say, "Paris is well worth a mass"? In 1517, a German Catholic priest and monk of the Order of St. Augustine sent a Latin-language work to the Elector and Archbishop of Mainz. It was titled Disputation on the Power and Efficacy of Indulgences. The priest was Martin Luther, and the elector was Albert von Brandenburg. The work later became known as the 95 Theses. Thus began the Reformation, one of the greatest schisms in the history of Christianity, which led to the emergence of Protestants and Protestantism. If you want to learn more about the Reformation in Germany and Martin Luther's 95 Theses, the Schmalkaldic League, and the Peace of Augsburg, we have already covered this story on our channel. Find the link in the description. Soon, France, a neighbor of the Holy Roman Empire, also came under the influence of the Protestant Reformation. At that time, the French kingdom was ruled by Francis I of the Valois dynasty, a patron of the arts and supporter of the legendary Leonardo da Vinci, an active participant in the Italian wars and a fierce rival of Holy Roman Emperor Charles V of Habsburg. He also went down in history as the first influential European ruler to dare to form an alliance with the Ottoman Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent and established a long-term Franco-Ottoman alliance. During the reign of Francis I, the French Reformation developed in two consecutive phases. Initially, there was tolerance and adherence to a golden mean, avoiding conflicts with his subjects. Later, a period of suppression of reformist ideas began. As early as 1519, printer and humanist scholar Johann Froben, a close friend of Dutch philosopher Erasmus of Rotterdam, published a collection of Martin Luther's works. He noted that 600 copies were sent to France and sold in Paris. In 1521, a group of reformers, including French theologian Jacques Lefebvre d'Etaples and Bishop Guillaume Brissonnet, created the Meaux Circle. It was a reformist humanist group in the city of Meaux. They spread new ideas about improving the quality of Christian preaching and religious life. Later, the Meaux Circle included theologian François Vatable, scholar Guillaume Boudet, reformer Guillaume Farel, and even Margaret of Navarre, elder sister of Francis I.
I don't know anyone.
They all stood at the origins of the Reformation in France, and in 1523, Jacques Lefebvre d'Etaples was the first to translate and publish the New Testament in French. In the 1520s, the King of France was still tolerant of reformist ideas, while the French...
When I love a picture, like, my man is posing like it's a Tinder profile picture, like, looking all handsome, just one finger on the baby sheep or something.
Aristocracy maintained the status quo and supported the monarch's policies. The Catholic Church, meanwhile, focused on defining the boundaries of orthodoxy, determining what could be considered heresy and what not. In 1532, the Waldensians, followers of the teachings of the lion merchant Peter Waldo, joined the Reformation in France. This religious movement had conflicted with the Catholic Church for centuries. It had a reputation for heresy, which influenced the French authorities' changing attitude toward reformers. By 1534, the situation had completely changed. The affair of the placards marked the beginning of the persecution of Protestants in France. It was a series of trials against heretics who distributed anti-Catholic leaflets in French cities.
I mean, anybody who would disagree with you is an heretic. That's just what it is, right?
Paris, Blois, Rouen, Tours, and Orléans. After the night of October 17th and
close to where I live, Rouen. I mean, not that close, but close enough.
18th, residents of these major cities could see anti-Catholic placards in public places. One of the placards, posted on the door of the king's bedroom in the Château d'Amboise, was taken as a personal insult by Francis I and a breach of royal family security. It was at that point that the repression of Protestants began. Social tension continued to grow. Later, several people involved in the affair of the placards were executed in front of the Cathedral of Notre Dame de Paris.
Damn, they're like really making this a feast. They're butchering people, burning them alive, beheading them, and burning them. Like, damn, they're really trying to do everything.
The presence of Francis I himself. It was because of the affair of the placards that French reformer John Calvin, in order to avoid persecution, moved to Switzerland. In 1536, he published his most famous work in Basel, Switzerland.
Isn't there like a religious branch called the Calvinist?
The Institutes of the Christian Religion. This theological polemical treatise in Latin laid the foundation for a new religious doctrine, Calvinism.
Here we go. Yeah. By the way, again, like, you hear about all this stuff all the time, the Calvinists, the Protestants, the Catholics, and you see it in media all the time, but I feel like I've never went out of my way to really learn the difference in the belief or something. So even here, it's like, I don't really know the difference that much in their belief, just that they're fighting because they have difference. Maybe it doesn't really matter why they're fighting, because it's still gonna sound to be nice, but it's stupid to me since I'm not religious, right? So it's like, if you tell me, like, why they're fighting, yeah, it won't really change much. But I still don't really know the difference that much. Actually, I could just Google it. Difference between Catholic and Protestant. One of the key divisions concerned authority. The Catholic Church holds the scripture and church tradition together form the basis of faith, while the Protestant emphasize the importance of scripture alone as the ultimate authority. So like only the word in the scripture matter, yeah. I mean, okay, that's the difference. Probably because obviously like the church is very corrupt, right? Because it's human beings leading it. So I can see, but believing only on like stuff written long time ago, yeah, okay. I mean, yeah, it's beyond me.
This later became the ideological basis for French Protestants. John Calvin translated the Institutes of the Christian Religion into French and published it in 1541. A year earlier, Francis I issued the Edict of Fontainebleau, the first normative act of the Kingdom of France that officially established a policy of persecution against French Protestants, who are also called Huguenots. The edict imposed severe punishments for Protestantism, including public humiliation, confiscation of property, torture, and even the death penalty. Soon, the French king ordered the punishment of the Waldensians. Followers of early Christianity had joined the Reformation movement and were becoming increasingly militant. In 1545, the massacre of Mérindol took place. French troops under the command of Jean-Menier d'Oppede, the new first president of the Parliament of Provence, and Antoine Escalon des Aymars, who was returning from the Italian wars with 2,000 soldiers, killed thousands of residents of the settlement of Mérindol and destroyed over a dozen surrounding villages. Hundreds of men were sent to the galleys as slaves. At the same time, special heresy courts began to operate, known as Chambers of Fire, La Chambre Ardente. The first was established in the Parliament of Rouen.
Is he not saying that right? Or
1547, Francis I died. The throne and crown were inherited by his second son, Henry II of Valois. He continued his father's religious policy, which eventually became even stricter, as the new king considered all Protestants heretics. In 1551, the Edict of Chateaubriand banned the distribution of Protestant literature. The crown could also confiscate Protestant property. Much harsher punishments were introduced by the Edict of Compiègne, issued in 1557. The death penalty for all Protestants who published banned literature, created blasphemous images, participated in religious gatherings, or preached illegally. This edict later became one of the preconditions for the religious wars in France. Meanwhile, in Geneva, Switzerland, preacher John Calvin ensured the leadership and organization of the Reformed Church of France. Despite persecution, the number and influence of Calvinists in
I wonder what the Calvinist branch is like. What do the Calvinists believe? Is centered on God, sovereignty, declaring that God is willing and able to do whatever he wants to his creation. It states that God predetermined whether people will receive salvation or deliverance from sin. It's impossible for those people to lose their salvation. Difference from Catholic, yeah? Yeah, okay.
French lands grew, as various social classes, including the aristocracy, preferred this branch of Protestantism. By the 1560s, the number of Calvinists in France reached approximately 2 million. More than half of the French aristocracy adhered to Calvinism. The Italian...
Which probably makes sense, right? I mean, they're the one with the most chance to read the documents and get into it.
The Italian Wars ended with the Treaty of Cateau-Cambrésis in 1559. France did not lose, but it was weakened and bankrupted. That same year, the First National Synod in Paris adopted the French Confession of Faith. It was a Reformed confession of faith and became the official doctrinal standard of the Reformed Church of France. In 1559, another significant event took place. King Henry II died due to an accident at a jousting tournament, and the French throne was inherited by his 15-year-old son, Francis II. This created a political vacuum and a struggle for power. The influential Duke François de Guise, uncle to the king's wife and Queen of Scots Mary Stuart, took advantage of the situation and placed Francis II under his guardianship. Duke de Guise became the second most powerful man in the kingdom. From then on, the aristocratic House of Guise, staunch supporters of Catholicism, played a leading role in French politics. In response, the Protestants attempted to kidnap the young king. The Amboise conspiracy of 1560 was led by Jean de Berry and Louis de Bourbon, Prince of Condé. The plot was uncovered in advance. Hundreds of suspects were arrested or killed, and de Berry was executed. Louis de Bourbon was also suspected, and within a few months he was captured and sentenced to death. It was after this conspiracy that the term Huguenot, whose origin is still debated by scholars, came into widespread use to refer to French Protestants. That same year, the young King Francis II died of an ear infection, and Prince Condé took advantage of the political chaos. He was released by order of the Queen Mother, Catherine de' Medici, who hoped to secure the support of the influential aristocrat. Meanwhile, another son of the late Henry II and Catherine...
Assassin's Creed 2, right? Or am I crazy? I think it was Medici, yeah?
10-year-old Charles IX of Valois became King of France. In 1561, the first street clashes between Catholics and Protestants broke out. The religious wars were already looming. The following year, Catherine de' Medici, who acted as regent for her underage son, attempted to prevent conflict. The Edict of Saint-Germain in 1562 granted limited tolerance to the Huguenots, but it could not stop what was to come. The massacre of Vassy marked the beginning of the French Wars of Religion. Duke Francois de Guise organized an armed assault in which dozens of Protestants were killed and hundreds wounded. De Guise became the leader of the Catholics, while Louis de Bourbon led the Huguenots who had risen against the crown. The next key event was the Siege of Orleans in 1563.
Yeah, we know
the
that.
Huguenots,
We've
under
seen
the
the video.
command of General Francois de Coligny, were losing the war and retreated to the city, which was besieged by Francois de Guise. The Catholic forces, representing the French crown, hoped to force the city's surrender and gain complete
This is on when Jeanne d'Arc comes in.
victory over the Protestants. However, de Guise was assassinated by the Huguenot Jean de Poltrot. His death weakened Catholic influence over the French crown, forcing a temporary compromise.
Maybe
Both
that's-
sides signed the Peace of Amboise, which granted the Huguenots limited religious freedom.
Wait, is this the time of the 100 Years' War or not? No, I think it was actually earlier, so I'm stupid. The 100-Year War is like before that, right? I forget.
At the same time, de Guise's assassination marked a turning point. It triggered a bloody vendetta among the French aristocracy and a series of high-profile assassinations of prominent leaders from both sides. 4 years later came the so-called Surprise of Meaux. Dissatisfied with the crown's failure to uphold promises and the continued restriction of Protestant rights, Huguenot leaders Louis de Bourbon and Gaspard de Coligny attempted a coup to seize King Charles IX. The plot failed,
It
and
never
the war
ends.
between Catholics and Protestants resumed. In 1569, the Battle of Jarnac took place. Catholic forces under General Gaspard de Sceaux defeated the Huguenot troops of Louis de Bourbon. Bourbon was wounded, captured, and executed. Gaspard de Coligny
Can't feel
then
bad for the
became the
Bourbon.
leader of the Huguenots. In 1571, the Seventh National Synod of French Reformers was held in La Rochelle, a major Huguenot and Reformation center in France. Among the attendees were Queen Jeanne III of Navarre, her son Henry of Navarre, Prince Condé Henri de Bourbon, Admiral Gaspard de Coligny, and other high-ranking Huguenots. The Gallican Confession was read to them, and they all signed it. From that moment, the confession became known as the La Rochelle Confession. The following year saw the most infamous event of the French Wars of Religion. The notorious St. Bartholomew's Day massacre of 1572 occurred just days after the wedding of the king's sister, Margaret of Valois, to Henry of Navarre. That same year, Henry became the new ruler of Navarre and was the grandson of King Francis.
Definitely seen this painting before, and I feel like it was in school, so well, I don't remember any of this. It was probably covered in school, I assume.
Is the first's brother. Catholics killed many political opponents and carried out a massacre of Protestants. Behind the massacre were Queen Mother Catherine de' Medici and the de Guise family. They initially planned to assassinate Huguenot leaders, but the fervor of French Catholic mobs turned these political murders into a mass slaughter. Young King Charles IX, aware of the planned purge, ordered the killings to stop. Nonetheless, even the king's will could not halt the brutal display of religious intolerance. Many French Protestants were killed, including Huguenot leader Admiral Gaspard de Coligny.
Always good at saying
Henry
no.
of Navarre managed to survive. The massacre spread beyond Paris. Estimates of the dead range from 5 to 30,000. The loss of leadership paralyzed the Huguenots. Those who survived became radicalized. The St. Bartholomew's Day massacre remains one of the most infamous examples of mass murder and is forever etched into the history of France. In
Not the first,
1574,
not the last.
Charles IX of Valois died of tuberculosis. According to a popular theory, the horrors of the
Damn, they really have a bad run. Like, died from jousting, died from like illness, died from tuberculosis. I mean, I guess everybody, like, there was much more of everybody was equal in this time, right? Even with being rich, there was no miracle cure for like most disease, right? Well, today, you know, it's much more the case that being rich is like such an advantage when you're sick. But back then, yeah, it was really like, even the kings and queens just died like flies.
Massacre had taken a severe toll on his physical and mental health. He declined over the next 2 years. The king had no sons, so he was succeeded by his younger brother Henry III, who had previously ruled the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth for 2 years. He was the third son of Henry II and Catherine de' Medici to ascend the French throne. In 1576, Henry III of Valois issued the Edict of Beaulieu. It granted Huguenots the right to public worship throughout France, except in Paris and at the royal court. Protestants were allowed to build churches and hold synods. The French king did this under the influence of his brother and heir, François de Valois, the youngest son of Catherine de' Medici and a supporter of the Huguenots. That same year, another Henry, the son of François de Guise, who became duke after his father's assassination, founded the Catholic League. It is also sometimes referred to as the Holy League. The organization sought to eradicate Protestantism in Catholic France and opposed the implementation of the Edict of Beaulieu. Still, the first phase of the League's existence ended after just 1 year. King Henry III effectively dissolved the organization.
The Holy League will be part of leading the crusade or something?
In 1584, François de Valois, the only close male relative of his brother the king, died of malaria. As a result, the heir to the throne became the Protestant Henry of Navarre, namesake and cousin of Henry III. This development worsened relations between the French monarch and the Catholic faction and led to the reactivation of the Catholic League. The League opposed the Huguenot leader Henry of Navarre and rejected his claim to the throne. Later, the organization gained the support of King Philip II of Spain, the Catholic Church, and the Jesuit order.
That's a crazy cool looking logo. IHS. They cooked with their logo.
This marked the beginning of the War of the Three Henrys, a three-sided conflict between King Henry III of France, Huguenot leader Henry of Navarre, supported by the Kingdom of England and Protestant German princes, and Henry de Guise, leader of the Catholic League, backed and financed by Spain. In 1588, a key event occurred, the Day of the Barricades. It was a popular uprising in Catholic Paris against the moderate religious policies of King Henry III of Valois. The revolt was orchestrated by Duke Henry de Guise and the Catholic League. In the end, King Henry III secretly fled the capital and never returned. Under pressure from the de Guises, the king was forced to sign the Edict of Union. This document cemented a close alliance between the French monarchy and the Catholic League. Henry III also pledged to fight against Protestants and to disinherit Henry of Navarre. These actions placed the French crown in a dire position. But much changed later that same year when Henry III ordered the assassination of Duke Henry de Guise and his younger brother, Cardinal Louis. The king summoned de Guise to the Chateau de Blois, where royal guard...
That's why people say all the time, like, you know, you don't need to make something like Game of Thrones. So much of history is literally there for you to do. I mean, and you don't even need to write the plot outside of, like, I guess the characters themselves, because there's maybe not enough about them, but the actual event, the twist and turn, I mean, history is just like, you know, endless backstabbing and wars and reversals and betrayals and all that. Yeah.
Guards killed the eldest son of François de Guise. Louis was also summoned, then arrested and executed. Young Charles, son and heir of Henry de Guise, was imprisoned in the city of Tours. The deaths of the de Guise brothers shocked the Catholic faction. From that moment, they came to despise Henry III. The Catholic League declared war on the French monarch, and Pope Sixtus V threatened him with excommunication for the murder of a cardinal. The French king then allied with his cousin and heir, Huguenot leader Henry of Navarre. In 1589, 2 members of the royal family died. Queen Mother Catherine de' Medici passed away from pleurisy at nearly 70 years old.
Pleurisy.
She had been the mother of 3 French kings.
Damn.
Shortly thereafter, King Henry III of Valois was...
I wonder, like, kind of a random thought, but who's the woman in history that had the most, like, king, emperors, presidents, whatever you want to call it, as kids? 3 sounds like a pretty good one.
stabbed to death by a Dominican friar, Jacques Clément, who sought revenge for the murder of the de Guise brothers. Thus, the leader of the French Protestants, Henry of Navarre, outlived the other 2 Henrys. He became the new king, Henry IV the Great, the first monarch of France from the Bourbon dynasty, which would rule for 2 centuries until the French Revolution. In 1593, after 4 years of fighting for the right to wear the crown, Henry IV Bourbon converted to Catholicism. Interestingly, he did so under the influence of his official mistress and advisor, Gabrielle d'Estrées. According to a popular but unconfirmed story, the French ruler said of his conversion, "Paris is worth a mass." Since then, this phrase has come to symbolize the willingness to sacrifice principles for...
I was gonna say, like, you know, the girl is so good that it convinces him to change his religion. But I guess if you want to put it into a bigger context, yes, he did it for Paris, he did it for France. Not because, you know, not because of a woman, sure.
Practical gain. In order to be accepted by French Catholics as king, Henry changed his religious affiliation. Just a year later, he was officially crowned in the Cathedral of Chartres. In 1598, Henry IV issued the Edict of Nantes, which granted French Protestants broad rights in a predominantly Catholic state. The Huguenots were granted religious and political freedom, freedom of conscience, amnesty, and the restoration of their civil rights. But Catholicism remained the dominant religion. France became a more tolerant and pluralistic society, though not all problems disappeared.
When
The
does
French
it ever?
wars of religion came to an end. Between 2 and 4 million people had died from violence, disease, and famine caused by the long conflict. The Bourbon dynasty replaced the Valois on the throne, and the St.
That's the worst
Bartholomew's
result.
Day massacre became one of the most infamous events in world history. Despite the compromise reached, French Catholics never truly accepted the Protestants or their new king. The Huguenots, in turn, viewed the monarch as a traitor to their faith. Henry the Great survived at least 12 assassination attempts. The last, in 1610, was successful. The French king who had brought peace to his war-torn country.
I think it's a pretty good ratio, though. I mean, you know, 11 successful survival of assassination attempts. I mean, you know, you can't win them all, but an 11 combo is pretty good, I think.
Was murdered by a Catholic fanatic, Francois Ravaillac. During the reign of Louis XIII the Just, son and successor of Henry the Great, conflicts between Catholics and
I was gonna say, like, there's still this 30-year war coming up, so things are far from over.
Huguenots reignited. And in 1685, the famous Louis XIV, known as the Sun King and grandson of Henry the Great, issued the Edict of Fontainebleau, which officially revoked the Edict of Nantes.
Didn't last long, huh? Yeah, I mean, I can't say I really knew any of that. As always, no need to be surprised. As I said, I wasn't really someone who listened in school. So it's not surprising. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say. It's like, it just feels like most of history, like people dying, people fighting, the rich and powerfuls, like leading to a ton of deaths over like religion or like we should be the king. It's the same as always. It's the same as always. You know, here's a link. One is just a short collab, okay? Things never change. Bloody hell. Bloody hell. Sorry, this best Teto, this is a song, and on this stream right here I don't do songs, but on the Sunday stream I do songs, so like if you share it on the Sunday stream right here, okay, you already shared it, so yeah, I'll probably do it Sunday. Yeah. Which one did you share, Stingy? Is it like the video already opened? This one? The kitchen gun video? Here we go. Or is it a different one that you mean? But yeah, I guess we can watch this one. I mean, you shared it. Kitchen Gun, 3 shots of Derek Bomb by Rescue. I have no context, came out 6 years ago.
This kitchen is so hard to clean. If only there was an easier way.
Derek Bomb. Mr. Bomb. Okay. Is it like a Billy Mays type, you know, like a guy with stars and many ads for like this kind of product? Just shoot your dirty dishes, that will clean them. Gucci. Kitchen gun. Quite the shitpost to it. There's a Smurf now. If only there was an easier way. Oh, shit. Nico. Shot the gun.
I'm Derek Bomb. Hitting gun.
What inspires someone to make this, you know what I mean? Eventual, huh? Stop kissing your damn gun. It's like that girl in Kakigurui that, you know, uses her gun, if you know what I mean. This melody too. Okay. That was Marisa. How do you even think of this and actually edit it?
So hard to clean. If only there was an easier way.
Hi, I'm Derek Bomb. Say goodbye to daily stains and dirty surfaces with you kitchen gun.
Wait, cleaning would be fun if I had a gun. Like a cleaning gun, that would be kind of fun, yeah. Maybe I've had more fun cleaning my kitchen, yeah. I definitely don't have all the reference. Sounds familiar, but... Oh, FF7. Is that really what it is, the music? Doing good now. No. This feels more Final Fantasy. Atmosphérique. Pas du tout. Ok. It's an absolute treat.
This kitchen is so hard to clean.
Oh wait, I know this music. Aruyo, yeah. Aruyo, that's right.
If only there was an easier way.
Aruyo. Wow. Don't know any key, but I guess it will do. Bang, bang. This always makes it emotional when you sing Aruyo. Some Vision Game soundtrack. This kind of album. Kitchen gun.
Bang! Bang!
So flash again. Yeah. Oh shit. Yeah, she ended up with a Mickey. Peak. Oh, this song. Is it Take On Me or something? Yeah. The creativity is... Wow. Please take on me. I love the shading and drawn outside. Peut-être ça. Ok. So many countries. Absolutely insane. Indonesia, America, New Zealand, also France, Japan. When Jenny comes home, Senya, Take On Me. Kitchen gun. How do you even think of any of this? Well, this was one of the videos of all time, I would say. What a video. What a video. Very fun to watch. Very fun to watch. Definitely reminds me of the Terry Crews video like this we had watched. Incredible. Just insane, the creativity and the meme-ness of it, I think is the best I can say. I mean, seriously. Okay, that was fun. But yeah, I think I'll leave it at this one for today. We watched a good amount of videos, and I do have some stuff to do, unfortunately. Yeah. Tomorrow I am learning more about the history of Shonen Jump, from 92 to we'll see. And yeah, thank you guys for the videos. Hope you had fun. I had fun. I'll see you guys next time. As always, see you.